Before we get started, I want to let everybody know that if you're going to speak tonight, you do need to have a card filled out, and we'll give you until 6:15 to have that card submitted to the city clerk. All right. Good evening and welcome to the regular commission meeting of September 2nd, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Now, if we'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, please call roll.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Vasquez. Here. Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Cezanne.
Here.
Commissioner Dickey.
Here.
Mayor Doctor.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of regular and workshop agendas. Does anybody have any changes? Okay, we can move on. Proclamations, recognitions, and certificates of appreciation. And I'm going to ask that Jim Brainerd please come up. And Jim has he's a consultant. He has a presentation that's going to be made, and he'll talk a little bit about himself and what we're trying to accomplish with a economic plan going forward.
Mayor, this is just a document for you and the fellow commissioners. Tells a little bit about my background. I'm going to ask for IT. It was up and now it's gone.
Do we have somebody from IT?
Oh, here, I think I see it now.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. I think I'm better off not using a mic. I've been told I have a loud voice. So.
I'm afraid you're going to have to use the mic for the people that are watching on TV.
I'll try to speak loudly and use the mic. If it's too loud, tell me. I was mayor of Carmel, Indiana, which is a edge city suburb of Indianapolis, for 28 years. It's a little different system there. The elected mayor serves as the city manager. And so I was reelected 7 times. We started out very small city. We're growing because we're in the face of all this growth. And one of our issues was about quality growth. And so we spent, and Mayor and some of the others here in Treasure Island have asked me if I'd consider, now that I'm out of office, I went out a year and a half ago, considering helping Treasure Island. So what I'm talking about is what we did to see if you think there's some relevance here. We don't have the beautiful water out there. In fact, well, this thing doesn't work.
There's an on switch. I don't know what the hell I'm doing either, so. What's that?
Oh, there we
Got
go.
it.
Thank you. So I'm going to come back to this slide in a minute, but I always start my presentations by saying that is not Carmel, Indiana. Neither's that. That's Aspen Mountain in Colorado at twilight. That's not Carmel either. That was what we had to work with. We did not have the beautiful Gulf out here, but that was our palette. And I always reminded people they had the same palette. Lousy weather, no mountains, and no oceans. And they did okay. They built a beautiful place. There we are. And there's our city, 50 square miles, which is a big area. That's double the size of the island of Manhattan in New York, actually. So we had this little town. We turned that into an art and design district. It was falling apart. Nobody went there. Wasn't any pedestrianism. So it wasn't big enough to be a downtown for a city, 50 square miles. But we went in and started there, then bought 88 acres and master planned a brand new downtown about 8 blocks south, and then another redevelopment district combined them all over this period of about 28 years. There's a before and after what we did. Of course, the architecture in that part of the country is very different than what people here would want, but that was very traditional Midwestern architecture. Again, before and after, that building has 120 cars underground. And I see that as sort of the key. We used to build beautiful cities in Europe and in the United States prior to the time we got over about 25% car ownership. Then we quit designing our cities for people. Thank you, Arden, I forget. We quit designing our cities for people and started designing our cities for cars. So what we tried to do in Carmel is saying, okay, everybody has a car. We're still going to have to accommodate cars, but we're going to start putting people first so that it's walkable and bikeable. And people get to know each other, too. We have all of these, in this fractured democratic republic that we have. We need to create opportunities for people from all different backgrounds to have an opportunity to get to know each other, too. Different faiths, different places of origin, different races. We need civic places for them all to come together. And when cities don't have downtowns, it's not good for us. There's, again, before and after that building you see in the lower part. Again, that has a 2-level underground parking lot, garage, beautiful court. And I understand you can't go underground here, but we also paid a lot of attention to public art. All sorts of different styles throughout the city, over 100 pieces at this point. We spent 1% of our budget for public art. We didn't put it all in one place like a sculpture park like some cities did. We put it throughout the city so that people had an opportunity to interact with it on a daily basis. That's one of our courtyards and one of the buildings that was a public-private partnership. So the problem with putting cars in structures and underground is about $80,000 a space to build it. It's about $40,000 a space to put it in a structured above-ground garage. So how do you pay for that? And so we used a process called tax increment finance, which isn't paid from any existing taxpayer's contribution. It's paid only from the new property tax that of the new development that's built. We also had a rule, we didn't go over 5 stories. In some places, we didn't go over 3 or 4. There's all sorts of research that shows you go over, first of all, building techniques change. You can't hide the cars very effectively over 5 stories. There's a lot of medical research now, even the data shows that people who live in buildings over 5, 6 stories, the mental health illnesses go way up. There's all sorts of data about that. So the way we used to build our cities, I always thought back in, prior to structural steel being invented in the 1870s or so, was probably the way old Paris, the way old Europe was built was probably about right. So we stuck to that. It's a human scale. There's examples. All those buildings are individual office and retail condos on our main street, all new projects, a lot of outdoor dining. I laugh at this one. I think this is somewhere out west, but this is the way we look at walkability in the United States. These guys, now think about it, these young men are going up that escalator to pay money to get on a Stairmaster. And this is not Carmel either, but that's the way. I mean, who goes for a romantic walk past that? We can do better as a society. And that's about billions of dollars of concrete. They'll have to be replaced every 30 to 40 years. We can do better than that, too. If we design our cities do mixed-use zoning as opposed to single-use zoning, where all the stores are here and all the businesses are over here, And then people, you create this thing where they have to drive all the time. If you have some mixed use in your downtown area, a lot of those trips will be very short trips. And there's been studies done as well. People living in mixed use developments drive about 1/3 somebody living in a sprawling subdivision. I want to meet the engineer that did that. And that, you can't walk anywhere, and you barely know your neighbors. The garages, you know, stick out to the street, no front porches. And then that's one of my favorites. This is interesting. People that might be interested in the environment. This is Chicago. Lake Michigan's that white area off to the right. And that shows the amount of carbon being emitted from the city of Chicago. On the left, that's the total amount of carbon, where it's dense down by the lake, you know, the tall buildings. And then look what happens when you do it on a per capita analysis on the right, per person. It totally flips because the people in the mixed use area aren't driving as much. From a financial standpoint, everybody wants to pay as low taxes as they can while still having good services, I think. So this is an example. Under Indiana, but it says top left, that's one of our 5-story buildings with 2-level underground parking and a beautiful courtyard, that one I showed you a minute ago. So that's showing $24 million of assessed value to which the tax rate's applied per acre. And then on the right is a big box store, a Meijer store. I don't think you have them down here, but it's like a Target. It's out of Michigan. And look at the assessed value for that. It's a fraction, you know, 1/50th. And so parking lots don't pay anything in taxes, but yet that road that costs $12 to $14 million a mile for a 2-lane road, you're paying for that road along that whole area, but yet that business is not contributing the amount of taxes it should. As another example, that's a Top Golf and an IKEA store, again, showing a fraction of what that 5-level building showed. So then we went outside the old area and bought that site. That's an old grocery store site, Kroger, if you're familiar with Kroger's in the Midwest, and bought 88 acres and master planned a new downtown. So that's what it looked like when we started about 1996, 1997. There's another picture of it. There it is today. Fountains, again, parking underground and in above-ground garages there, both. It's the center of our new downtown. There's our farmers market. The building on the left, on the top, is interesting because that's hiding a 900-space parking structure. Parking structures are just as ugly as parking lots in most cases. So we put buildings around them, again, to beautify the city. It's how we compete for economic development, just a higher quality of life for people. People say, well, you're spending all this money on making the city beautiful. What about poor people? And I said, well, where'd you go on vacation last year? And they told me some beautiful place, Hawaii, Florida, Maine, somewhere. And I said, well, poor people can't afford to go to those places. They deserve to live in our city and have it be beautiful. There's, again, office buildings. See how subtle the underground parking is? This is our concert hall we built as our anchor. It's one of 14 true concert halls as opposed to theaters in the United States. It was inspired by Palladio's Villa Rotunda in the town of Vicenza, just outside of Venice in Italy. It was $125 million, but we didn't have to raise a penny of residential property taxes for that. It was all paid from the TIF from the new development. That's the building that across from it has 2 small theaters and some private offices in that building, but really it's hiding a parking structure. Again, that building on the top has underground parking. We bring the stores up to the street, and pedestrians, we know, do better if there's cars, you know, parked along a street, and then a big sidewalk and a building. They feel secure in that space. Where there's a big parking lot, pedestrians won't use it as easily. This is a brand new street we did. If you can see that, it's a little light, but the gray street in the middle is for bikes only. The smaller gray street in the middle, and the bike street's bigger than the car street, is for walkers. And then there's a 9-foot, very narrow lanes. We didn't even have to put up speed limit signs. That's through our third redevelopment area. We'll get hundreds of people walking on that street every day, probably a couple hundred people for every car, because it was built as a pedestrian way, even though cars are accommodated. We put a lot of, there's one of our parking structures. We did a lot of public sculpture in that area too. For the people that remember Lech Walesa, that statue of Bike is very important because that was one of his cellmates in Poland. The sculptor, he now lives in St. Louis and was short of money, so we commissioned him to do some of our public art. But he shared a cell with Walesa when they were fighting the communists. Kept making sculptures about free speech and human rights, and the communists didn't like that. There's our bike path. There's a public plaza. If you're building at slightly higher densities, you need to pay a lot of attention to public spaces. Negotiate with the developers if they're going to get the benefit of tax increment finance for parking facilities. The taxpayers, it's a negotiation. There's a quid and a quo, or a quid pro quo for things. And so we would pay for all these public amenities, the art, the fancy the bricks on the streets, a lot of the amenities that really made the place beautiful, out of TIF, so it didn't impact taxes. We had the lowest tax rate of any major city in our state. Bike shares are important. So then we also built, try to make traffic move better and more safely. Our fatality rate from traffic is the lowest in the United States. It's 1/6 the national average. It's 2 deaths per 100,000 per year. The national rate is 12 deaths per year. Indianapolis, with whom we share streets, at 15 deaths per 100,000 per year. It's about speed when you come to the intersection. The cost is less, better for the environment. We save about, on average, 24 tons of carbon for every roundabout over a stoplight because cars aren't starting and stopping as much. Safer for pedestrians. Our pedestrian fatality rate is a fraction of places that don't have the roundabouts. We have hundreds of pedestrians using the pedestrian crossings. They also move 50% more cars per hour. So we don't have to widen all the lanes. So many times, city manager, the mayor, or city commissioner will get a call. Says, you got to do something about traffic. And the idea is, well, let's add lanes. And all you're doing is building a bigger parking lot, I think, to get more cars through the green cycle of the light. But if you can put the money, as opposed to lane capacity, into intersection capacity, you don't have to pave over Paradise as much. And the engineers know exactly when you have to go from 2 to 4 lanes and that sort of thing, the roundabouts. So we did a lot of roundabouts. We also, they're great places for public sculpture. That is homage to Hoagie. Hoagie Carmichael from Indiana wrote Stardust, the most recorded song ever. People of a certain age in this crowd may remember that. People under a certain age may not. But that's, old Victrola with the stars and the moons coming out right in front of our concert hall. We also did these cool car sculptures. That's the Marmon that won the first Indianapolis 500 along a strip where you had a lot of car dealers, Studebaker, all antique Indiana cars. Here's some of our art. We use these guiding principles, and this is my last slide. Mixed use, less emphasis on single-use zoning because people drive less. It's good for traffic congestion. We tried to build for pedestrians, not cars. A hierarchy of buildings. Public buildings ought to stand out. They ought to be made with local materials, but they're still at a human scale. They ought to be in harmony with the land and the built surroundings. Enclosures, pay attention to the aesthetics, get the density right, which is not too much, not too little, and learn, quite honestly, architecture is the only field of human endeavor I've ever seen, in the last 70 years say, we don't like anything that we learned in the last 3,000 years, we're going to start over. And it hasn't served us very well. We have a lot of empty, ugly boxes out there that pass for architecture. So going back to what we learned for 3,000 years, modernizing it, incorporating it, is what we did. I want to go back to the very beginning of the presentation and show you, I hate to brag, but I'm going to here for a minute. This is what the rest of the country thought of what we did in Carmel. I'll get there in a second. There we are. Wallet Hub's a website, best small city to live in the United States in 2023. Same year, Niche Magazine said best place to live in Indiana. 2011, CNN's Money Magazine named us the best city to live in the United States. 2021, I'm trying to read this from a distance, Niche Magazine named us best suburb to live in America, #1. Safest city to raise a child in America. Unfortunately, we were 4th, not 1st. #1 a bunch of times in Indiana, but we got quite a bit of national recognition because not many suburbs did what we did. And it's all getting the public sector and the private sector to work together, creating some money. So what I was asked to put together a presentation for this commission to consider, and it was to come in, what I did as mayor, manage a team. There's probably only half a dozen really good planning firms in the United States that know how to do mixed use and get it right so that it works. There's specialists in TIF law, tax increment finance law. There's specialists in landscape architecture in places. But put together a team, it'd probably be about 8 professionals. It includes civil engineering, including somebody to help us with bike infrastructure, all these various things, and actually get it done. I work with a lot of cities across the United States now. I joined the research faculty. I'm not an architect, but I was a lawyer, but I was asked to join the research faculty at the University of Notre Dame School of Architecture because they have a program to help cities in about a 100-mile radius of the university. And what I see, they've got cities all over, have all these great master plans on the shelf, but nothing's ever been done with them. And what we did in Carmel, we took that good planning, then we figured out how to do it financially, keep our taxes low, and create what I think is a really good place for our city. So that's what some of your residents asked me to come down and present to you. So I'm done talking for now. I apologize if I took too long.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of quick notes. Jim has come down here twice on his own nickel. And I know that he saw what had happened to Treasure Island and most of the beach community, and he's here to help. One of the things that I would like with from the commission is to if we can take just a consensus on have Charlie move forward and bring back to us a contract for him to help us going forward.
I am an absolute no. We weren't even told that this was going to happen. It was, the last I heard, Mr. Vasey had brought, and absolutely no disrespect to you whatsoever, that Mr. Vasey had brought you down. And if I'm wrong on that, then I'm wrong. But I do know in the last time that you came down, or the first time you came down, that you were taken out on a boat with the mayor and Mr. Vasey, which I just feel is improper, and now this is being thrown on the commission with absolutely no prior knowledge. So I think just putting a 15-minute, because it's not like the help is going to be free. It's going to come with a big price tag, and I think just throwing it on the commission with absolutely no prior knowledge to it being there, and hey, maybe I'm the only one that feels that way, I don't know. But I just want to express that, this was nowhere on our agenda. This has never been even brought up that it was workshopped, nothing. So again, absolutely no disrespect to you. Was born in Indiana, lived here my whole life, but I was born there. So I have no doubt that you're good at what you do, but I just feel this is 100% improper.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me go next. Very impressive presentation, and have been a mayor for 28 years. I can't imagine. But you've got some impressive credentials there, and you've done great work. I do have to agree with Vice Mayor Vasquez in terms of the fact that there's no real notice about this, or I'd like to know more about what our arrangement would be, how much it's going to cost and stuff like that. I'd love to have you come down here, quite frankly, so don't misinterpret what I'm saying is I'm opposed to it. If anybody can come down here and do some of the things that you did up there here, I'd love to do it, but I just think we need a better understanding of what the requirements for the consulting is and how much it's going to cost us.
Go ahead.
I didn't say I was going to say anything.
Oh, age before beauty. All right, guess I'll go. Congratulations on your years of success. I was actually in Cicero, Indiana last year, or 2 years ago. Time flies. So I've driven through Carmel on the way to the airport. Gorgeous roundabouts. Actually, I went through a very nice affluent community. I got lost, but gorgeous.
GPS struggles with roundabouts.
Yes, and roundabouts here in Florida, that's a problem. So I'm also kind of shocked to see this. In my meeting with the city manager today, he had no mention of this presentation, so I'm sure it'll come at a price per month and a retainer. I don't think Carmel, Indiana has much to do with Treasure Island, so I think we obviously can't have underground parking structures, and if, like you mentioned through stats, 5/1 is what we currently have, where are we going to put parking? So there's other questions and so on, but I'm kind of shocked to see this on the agenda, without any proper information from my meeting at 12:30 with the city manager. So I am against giving any direction at this time. Thank you.
And there, just emphasize, I would love to have him come down here. I'm just saying we need to know more about what we're buying into.
I happen to somewhat know Jim. My uncle is involved. I happen to somewhat know Jim. My uncle is involved in politics up in Indiana, and after we had the hurricane, I had mentioned to him about the state that our city was in, and he said someone down there should talk to him, and I think that our mayor already was looking for some help. So couldn't have enough good things to say about Jim and what he did with that city. I'm with Art, and I think this is something that we absolutely 1,000,000% need. I think he's going to be able to bring in developers that are willing to work with us, the whole city, and do what we want as a city, and have it look the way that we want, and have it, and also structure deals where these people are giving back to the community through, negotiated benefits, like they have to provide parking, they have to provide green space. And you heard him say that all this is done through TIF districts and things like that, where it's not raising our taxes. And I think that this could move our city ahead 10 years time very, very quickly. And, I don't think that we have really, I think the guys up at Gators, know what they're doing. I don't know that we have other developers here that are going to be able to do what he's going to be able to help us do. You saw those pictures. There's not tons of tall buildings. There's tons of green space. There's bikes. If I didn't want to be by the beach, I'd want to live there. But anyhow, so I just don't see. And Arden, I'm gonna say something. I hope you don't mind I say, because I've heard you say it twice. You said it once in my living room and once on the dais. Is that everything we do in Treasure Island is half-ass? Do you remember saying that? I'm not taking you out of context, right? And if we don't work with someone like this, that's what we're fixing to do. And so that's just my opinion.
Okay, so would the commission be comfortable putting the workshop on the 16th of September and then doing a workshop?
Would it, and I'm just asking a question, isn't this something, if we're looking for a city planner, that should go out to RFP or RFQ? That's just a question because I truly don't know the answer to that.
So this question came up, and it really depends on the price. If it's at 35,000 or more, then you have to competitively bid it. But if this is somebody who's coming in at a lower rate, then this city has the discretion to just instruct the manager to hire that person or somebody else.
My biggest concern is, again, Carmel, Indiana and Treasure Island, Florida look very different. We don't have underground parking. We can't have underground parking. As far as negotiating green space and public parking, I mean, that is something that we do in the deals without costing our taxpayers any extra money, without bringing in yet another consultant, which the very people that are supporting this are the very people that have complained about us hiring consultant after consultant after consultant. So one of the you mentioned master plan. Yeah, we do have a master plan. One of the reasons that it has never moved forward is because we've, one, never had a commission strong enough to move it forward. And I believe that we do now have a commission strong enough to move it forward. This city has been planned, replanned, and planned again. And now we're wanting to spend more money to plan it yet again. And again, I want what's best for Treasure Island. And I mean absolutely no disrespect for the gentleman who spoke, but I just don't know that someone from Carmel, Indiana, building underground garages is the one that we need. And I just that's my opinion. If we want to look at someone who has experience, coastal experience, and we want to look at that, I don't think it needs to halt what we're doing. Because we're already a year after the hurricane, and here we are. And we still have fences around hotels, we still have dirt lots. So that's my opinion. And again, that's only mine, so.
Go ahead, Chris.
I would just say, yeah, the reason we've gone all these years and don't have anything, because we never had someone like this. And the developers and things and architects he would work with, they don't only know how to do things in Indiana where there's underground parking. They're the premier experts in the field that would know how to do something that we want here. Maybe we want the place to look kind of like a whole Art Deco city. Maybe we don't. Maybe we want it to look, but it'd be nice. Everything kind of matched. It wasn't like a hodgepodge of you got one tall building over here, one short building over here, and nothing looks like anything. There's no bike paths. And also, you mentioned that we do all these deals to give back to the public for green space parking. I didn't see that in any of the deals that we're voting on tonight, but maybe I'm wrong.
Did you not get the Thunderbird presentation? Because I guarantee you in the Thunderbird presentation, if you didn't meet with them last week, they have over 67 parking spaces for public. They have green space, and this is just the beginning. We haven't even negotiated yet. So
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
disagree.
Hold on. Can I just say one more question? Yes, I did actually speak to them and met with them. And the last question that I asked them was, what kind of things are you going to do to help our city with the increased density? Will you help with like walkways out in front, or maybe we need a bigger sewer because of the increased density? And the answer was no, we haven't gotten that far. So, yeah,
Okay.
I did actually ask them, but thank you.
All right, I think
Mayor?
we'll take this offline.
Oh, if you'd like, I'll be brief, but I couldn't perhaps answer some of commissioners'
I
questions.
think that our time tonight's going to be tough.
Okay, that's
so
fine.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much,
you.
Jim. And let's move on.
Did you have a question?
The next items are the city attorney and city manager reports.
I'm going to have a lot of comment. Obviously, there's a lot on the agenda, so I don't really have a report separate from these big items that are on the agenda and some that have been continued to next. So instead of going in details about the board, I'll probably just interlace my comments tonight.
Yep, microphone.
Sorry, I'll repeat it. Most of my comments are on the items that are this month and next month, since you have very significant items in front of you. So instead of having a separate report, I'll just kind of interlace my comments on those items as we go. My focus has been on everything that's on this agenda and next agenda, so.
All right.
All right, Mayor. The top of my list was the September 11th beach walk, but we have some firefighters here that would like to talk to you for a minute or two about that.
Okay.
about that. So if we could let them go first, and I'll get into the rest of my stuff.
All right. So Stephen Rowland.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Rowland. I'm a lieutenant with Treasure Island Fire Rescue. I'll be very brief. I know you guys have plenty of business to get to. Purpose for me to be up here tonight is to invite and promote our 9/11 Memorial Walk. There's flyers out on the front desk with all the information. Just to highlight a few of the details, this is a 3.43-mile walk to honor the 343 firefighters we lost that day. There will be free parking during the event around City Hall and at Kingfish Drive. Transportation will be provided to and from both the start and the finish line. That's via the city shuttle bus. Refreshments will be along the route as well as after. That'll be donated by our benevolent fund. The event is growing every day. At this point, it's not possible without the help from other city staff. So thank you to all of them. Again, the flyers are out front. If you guys have any questions, my contact information is out there, and look forward to seeing all of you out there. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Lieutenant.
Thank you very much.
So on that day, I'm going to allow max participation among City Hall staff. Not everybody's signing up to walk almost 3.5 miles, so there'll still be plenty of people in the building. The permitting department will be providing some of the Gatorade or whatever's along the route, so we'll open up permitting at noon that day. And while we're on CDD, last week, between Monday and Friday, a couple of our rock stars in there, Bianca Danette and Emily Ellis, went through 1,900 same-day permits, 1,900 in a week. Most of those, and I hope they're watching or listening, or somebody can tell them later, but most of those were floodplain reviews, and both of those were the two ladies I mentioned last week, or last meeting, that had just gone through that floodplain certification. We have a lot of permits that have been requested and jobs that have been permitted that haven't been closed out. So if you're amongst those people or you're watching and listening, please close out your permits. God forbid we get hit with another storm. But if it did, it would be as if you hadn't done the work maybe that you've done and just haven't called for the final inspection, and you'd be stuck at that old 50% rate. So please call for your finals. Keep going on that. Very happy to share that Human Resources and Risk Management have confirmed 100% completion on submission of all damage assessments from Helene and Milton. So we're about a month ahead of schedule. It's a hard deadline of 1 year post-storm. Very significant milestone. It ensures that we've clearly documented all the storm damages. We've filed for every bit of insurance that we can file for. We've gotten a lot of it in. So we're on top of that. We're updating our statement of values, like how much this building and every other thing the city owns is worth. I've been through a couple of those meetings. Jessica Zamora, I don't know if she's in the room or back there in CDD, has really done a yeoman's task on that. And she, in true fashion, just wants to extend that thanks to the other city staff, site inspectors, and a special thanks to Kathy Hayduke, Mike Baker, Steve Viola, JP Agrawal, and the public works staff in the building department. This really was a huge team effort to get that. I'm just coming in at the end of all that. So if you have nothing else better to do, there's 2 podcasts. I'm assuming they're on Facebook. Yep, Treasure Island Facebook and YouTube. Ms. Joan Goodrich, our Economic Development Director, was the guest on one, and I was the guest on the other. And so that's out there for your listening pleasure. I was always told I was blessed with a face for radio, so just listen. You don't have to watch. Barktoberfest is coming up October 26, 11 to 2, at John Maroney Memorial Dog Park. Costume contest, pet adoptions, live music giveaways, food, beverages, etc. And we're really moving along. Next meeting, I'll have a very substantive update for you on some of our CIP and other public works projects. But that's all I have, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to now move to public comment. This is public comment not associated with the agenda items. First, Richard Harris. Okay, so, all right, I'll give you a call in a minute. Diane Crable, or actually, do you just have the one issue, Diana?
Mr. Mayor, I have that for H6 and H9.
Okay.
So it's not anything, it's agenda, not non-agenda. Thank you.
All right. Okay, is anybody, have you submitted one? And because they've all got 4, 6, 7, 8. West?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually didn't have a card in on time because I didn't realize we were going to have this presentation at the beginning. So I just wanted to comment on that. West Evans, Isle of Palms. I noticed that, Mayor, you called for maybe having a workshop on the 16th. The Vice Mayor said she's against it, and then all discussion was shut down. I'd like to point out how many workshops of garbage over the years we've sat through in this room, the other room, stuff we didn't want that did nothing good for the city. We've all sat through them. Now we have someone who's coming in and has done great things for a city. All we need to do, have a workshop. Let him really lay it out. Let us all ask questions. You guys ask questions. Let him answer the questions, which he also offered to do a second ago and got shut down on. Let's have a workshop. Maybe, yeah, it's going to cost some money. Or, like he said, there's ways that it offsets the taxpayer money. We've dumped a lot of money into plans and drawings and things that we didn't need. We're 1 year out from the hurricane, something we desperately need now, and you guys are putting it in the dustbin. I say on the 16th, we have a workshop. Let the man talk and let the citizens know what's going on and let them have a say on if this is something we want to go through with. Thank you.
Thank you, West. All right. I do not see any for just general comment. Do you have a card submitted? Be quick.
Hi, everyone. Carlos Miro, District 3. I want to thank the person from Carmel who came to speak, and I want to thank Mayor for having him. I just want to make a quick comment, about consultants' fees. You know that I've talked about that many times in the past, and I'm actually surprised that today is the first time I've ever heard anyone from this table talk about consultants' fees and say that we shouldn't be paying the consultants' fee. That's the first time I've ever heard anyone from this table say anything of that sort. And what they did in Carmel is what we want in Treasure Island. We want a small town Treasure Island. That's why people come to move here, because we're not like St. Pete Beach. We're not like Madeira Beach. We're certainly not like Clearwater. We want a small town Treasure Island. And this man can help us understand how we can build that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to move on to our approval of minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. We'll close that. And do we have any discussion up here? All right. Call roll, please.
Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Motion, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any public comment? It is? Okay, thank you. Come on up.
All right, thank you. Mark Hoey, District 3, 225 104th Avenue. This little gem, G7, if the folks out there are following along, is a significant change to how we're accustomed to doing business with regards to property, handling property here in Treasure Island. And I didn't want to let that go unnoticed. I recognize, and those of you that follow LPA and some of the other development areas have heard all about what the Senate Bill 784 has done or is intending to do to how cities manage their own internal affairs with regards to property usage, et cetera, et cetera. So that caught my eye. And it caught my eye for a couple of reasons. One is, I guess at some point, this bill or this law is going to get tested somewhere for its validity. But we're taking a pretty quick approach to put it in effect right now by basically taking platting responsibilities out of consideration for the public and putting it squarely as a responsibility for the CDD department. If you read through it, we're just basically taking that and, you know, again, this is not anything on a personal level. This is more governmental change that's pulling that in. We all have heard that public hearings and resolutions and ordinances governing how things are changed, be it height and density, platting, all that, have been thrown out the window. It'll get tested. Don't know how it'll fall, but we're moving ahead as if it's proven law, and I don't think we're quite there yet. But more importantly, here in Treasure Island, we're putting that squarely in the responsibility of the Community Development Department Director, squarely in the hands of Miss Bobby Shea Lee. Now, you may recall, you probably don't, but on June 5th, I wrote an open letter to you all about that, about the lack of qualifications of that person. Again, nothing personal, but we had gone from a period where we had a 30-year qualified individual in charge of that department that had full complement and use of all the needed information to make decisions that were ultimately brought to the city manager and to you for approval. We are now saying, sorry, the CDD director is going to make these decisions on behalf of all of us herself. Well, she doesn't have the qualifications. And again, CDD is not one person. I get that. It's a department. There's a lot of great qualified people in there. But who's the one that's going to end up making the decision and being the one to carry it forward? It's going to be the director. And as I pointed out at that time, it's all about knowledge, experience, and credentials, of which Ms. Lee does not have those for this particular role. She does not. You can't compare someone that is going to be responsible for ordinances, responsible for LDRs, us living up to building codes, comprehensive plans, you name it. All that bucket is going into the hands of someone who does not have those qualifications whatsoever. And it really happened in a very short period of time. And as far as the public was concerned, and the public didn't have a say-so and shouldn't. That was the city manager's decision at the time, but it was made without any idea of who else was available for the job, what their credentials were, and what they were able to do. She was selected. And now, Resolution 25-19 is going to hand her plat approval, replats, and reviews for all of that is going to go into her hands. Now, I can understand if the new law says, well, it becomes a administrative function, well then, yes, our city manager, he doesn't have spare time in the day to be doing that as well. It makes sense that you would hand that off, as is allowed, to the CDD. But it is a critical issue for us that the CDD is going to have the ability to make that decision. I ask you to reconsider and vote no.
Thank you. At this point, do we have any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I heard what Mr. Hoey had to say, and I reluctantly agree with him when I say reluctantly because Bobby Bailey has impressed me since she's been here, and she's doing a lot of good things. But when I did read this, I did think, and I did study up on Senate Bill 784 to make sure I understood what it was. So I do know that we have to do this, but I was concerned. I was saying when I was reading, I was going to say, okay, I see we have to do that. I just don't know who we were going to assign it to. And it does make sense for it to go to the community development department and that she do it, but maybe we can ask the city manager to talk about his feelings in terms of her ability to perform this function.
Well, I don't ever speak from feelings. I try to speak from facts. And the fact is, I've been here 6 weeks. No decision at a CDD has been made in isolation. And when we need opinions from an architect, an engineer, or somebody with a license or a particular skill set or background, we seek those out. I wouldn't expect any senior executive to make decisions that they're not qualified to make. I mean, we get legal advice, we get architectural and engineering advice, we get land use advice. That's just all a matter of course. We have open contractual lines with Kimley Horn and others. So although I can appreciate just an off-the-cuff thing, it has its limits with me. And the one gentleman from the public spoke. I would really, really like, free speech is free speech. I'm a big fan of the First Amendment and the Second, and I like all the rest of them too. We need to get out of the habit of just calling out staff by name. If one of you 5 commissioners has a problem with an individual staff member, you can come to me as your city manager. I have all the authority in the world to deal with whatever it is. But nobody that's sitting here tonight knows. I don't even know for sure. I haven't gone through each person and looked at how many resumes or applications were considered for each job. I used to get a lot of flack about hiring particular people from particular subgroups in the school system. But the truth is, some days I only had 1 or 2 applicants for a job. So I don't know what all the whys and wherefores, but we're not going to be getting out over our skis and plats or anything else without doing our due diligence and getting the correct advice from the professionals we need it from. So I hope that will allay your concern.
That does, and I think you could have stopped at that point because I certainly wasn't lashing out at any city employee.
I did not.
So
I did not.
I
take
just want to
that.
make sure your answer
Yes, sir.
was helpful, and it made me feel more comfortable with this. But like I said, I was not attacking.
No,
her
sir.
or
I
anybody's
did not
decision.
take
Okay.
your what you said in any way. Is that?
Thank you.
Okay, we have a second. We have a motion. Any further discussion? If not, let's call a roll.
Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Zazan?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our first item of our agenda. Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 2025-06, budget amendment. Do we have Kathy?
This is actually the second reading for the budget amendment for the award of the tennis court fence from the USTA contract too, that we have the funding for the hurricane damage. It's actually your third reading. We just had an issue with getting it out in enough timely manner to advertise.
I'm going to go ahead and read it for you, Mayor.
Please do.
Got to read it for the record. Second reading and public ordinance hearing of ordinance 25-06, budget amendment to fund Treasure Bay tennis court resurfacing and fence replacement in an amount not to exceed $231,650.
Great. Thank you.
You got it.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve and adopt ordinance 2025-06 at the second and final reading at public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? Hearing no public comment. Do we have any discussion up here? No. So let's go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye.
Thank you.
H2, first reading of ordinance 2025-13, creating Chapter 60, introduction of the land development regulations. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 2025-13, creating Chapter 60 introduction and schedule the item for a second and final reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. Any discussion up here? Hearing none, roll call, please. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, does the attorney need to read the title?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read the full long short title, as I call it. I apologize, 1 second. Ordinance 2513, ordinance of the City of Treasure Island, Florida, creating Chapter 60, introduction. The City of Treasure Island Code of Ordinances, creating Section 60-1. Title, citation, relocating and amending Section 68.3-3. Purpose from 68 to create Section 60-2, creating Section 60-3 authority, creating Section 60-4 applicability, creating Section 60-5 comprehensive plan, relocating and amending Chapter 68-1 rules of construction, Chapter 68 to create Section 60-6, relocating and amending Section 68-4 interpretation from Chapter 69 to create Section 60-7, providing for severability, providing for conflict codification and effective date. It's not really that short.
Thank you, Clerk, for reminding me. Now, would you please call roll?
Yes. Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye.
Thank you.
H3, first reading of ordinance 2025-14. Would you please read the ordinance?
This one I'm going to do abbreviated but sufficient reading of the ordinance. Ordinance 2025-14, ordinance of the City of Treasure Island, amending Chapter 73, signs of the City of Treasure Island Code of Ordinances by revising Section 73-3, purpose and intent.
Can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve ordinance 2025-14, amending Chapter 73, signs and advertising, and schedule this item for a second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. Any discussion up here?
I've got a couple of questions I wanted to ask. I looked on page 100 of the agenda packet that affects this particular ordinance that we're talking about. It lined through the changes that were being made to the original signs and advertising stuff. Anyway, it took out two what I thought were important clauses. Clause number 17, again, I'm on page 100 of the agenda packet. It says to lessen the visual clutter that may otherwise be caused by proliferation, improper placement, illumination, animation, excessive height, and excessive size. That seemed like a pretty important element to keep in it, and I noticed they scratched that one off, and also they scratched out item number 14 on the same page, and that was to regulate the appearance and design of signs in a manner that promotes and enhances the beautification of the city. I thought that was, I thought both of those clauses were important enough to keep in. I did ask for from the city why those were removed, and the answer that I got was that there's other bullet points in here, other sections that kind of address that, and they do, but not quite as clearly. Can we approve this at this stage with and just to say that we would include those two items, or?
You can amend it, yep.
Yeah. So I guess I would like to, if the rest of the commission is in agreement to keep those two clauses in the original, or in the new ordinance that we're getting ready to vote on.
Can we have someone from city staff elaborate on?
I was going to ask it.
Yeah, those two items, Arden, I don't have my email that I had sent to you, but they're essentially non-regulatory, and after speaking to the consultant, they were basically taken out because they were duplicative of other ones that are already in there. But I have no problem with putting it back in. If you guys want to make a motion, put it in, we'll certainly put it back in.
Yeah, I would just move with and say, I move to approve with the exception of these, remove these two redactions, or unremove these two sections.
Okay. I move that we move this motion forward with adjusting for Section 14 and Section 17, adding those back to the ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay with that?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right.
What about number 25, Mary Ellen? That was redacted.
Hold on.
What page is that?
Page 101.
To allow for government signs placed on the community that promote city tourism, and then it just removed that. I mean, I assume it's probably duplicative.
20. My understanding is those are also already stated. I'd have to look back through here. But I believe that anything that was taken out that was non-regulatory was stated somewhere else within the regulations. So they were removed just for that reason, but we can certainly, oh yeah. Because it looks like it's on page, would you like me to introduce Mr. Kelly Klepper, who is the consultant for us? Kelly is with Kimley Horn. He's actually the one working on our Phase 1 LDRs and slipping me notes.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, Kelly Klepper with Kimley Horn. You're absolutely correct in what the questions and what we identified. One, these are non-regulatory in nature. They're feel-good statements. But more importantly, like the one that you're specifically asking about with 25 is already addressed under A1, as well as a couple of others. Again, we're not going to sit there and say you shall remove those, because that is this body's authority to do so. If you want to retain those statements in their entirety, all we have to do is undelete them and bring that back for second reading as amended.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any public comment? No public comment. We'll close public comment. Any discussion up here?
So just to confirm, we're putting 14, 17, and 25 back in?
You'd have to restate the original motion or amend the motion. So if somebody wants to retract the motion and then state it with all three, unremoving all three of those sections, you can do that.
I'd like to make a motion to retract the statement that Commissioner Dickey mentioned and put back 17, 20, I'm sorry, 14, 17, and 25.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Amended. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. Any additional comments up here? No? Let's have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Cezanne?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye.
Thank you.
H4, approve the city manager to sign a contract with Kimberly Horn for Phase 2, updated land development regulations, and authorize the city manager's purchase authority of $151,100. Motion, please.
I move for the City Commission to approve purchasing authority for the scope of work with Kimberly Horn in the amount not to exceed $151,000 for preparation of Phase 2 of the land development regulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Hearing no public comment, we will move to any comments up here. Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye.
Thank you.
H5, first reading of ordinance 2025-15, and I will let the city manager, or say attorney, please read it.
All right, ordinance 2025-15, ordinance of the City of Treasure Island amending Chapter 68 zoning regulations of the City of Treasure Island. Code of Ordinances by amending 68-542 allowable encroachments to provide for relief from the setback requirement for a balcony when an existing structure is being elevated as a minimal encroachment into the setbacks, providing for severability, providing for conflict, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-15 and schedule a second and final reading.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, we will close that. Do we have any discussion up here? All right. Please give a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye.
Thank you.
H6, first reading of ordinance 2025-16, amending the City of Treasure Island Comprehensive Plan. I'm going to let the city attorney read it.
Right. 1 second. Ordinance 2025-16, ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Treasure Island, Florida, amending the text of the adopted comprehensive plan to adopt alternative temporary lodging density intensity standards in resort facilities medium and resort facilities high, future land use categories by amending policy 1.1.3 of the city's adopted comprehensive plan, providing for transmittal and reviewing agencies in accordance with the requirements of law, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion, please.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-16 at this first reading and recommend transmittal to the Department of Economic Opportunity in accordance with section 163-3184 Florida statute and other reviewing agencies as required.
Second.
We have a motion and we have second, and I know that we have some public comment on this. Richard Harris.
And, well, before public comment, Mayor, it's traditional to allow the applicant to open with their comments on the item.
All right.
Sorry, we've been moving so routine and robotically that we forgot to
Sorry
slow
about
down.
that.
We're moving quite efficiently tonight, so we don't mind. I didn't mean to stand up and wave you down. So thank you so much, Mayor, City Manager, Mr. Attorney, Katie Cole with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, representing the property owner of the Thunderbird Hotel, who happens to be the applicant of this request. So appreciate the time, and I know we have a room full, and based on the social media chatter, a lot of interesting comments that we're going to hear on this. So hopefully we can offer some clarification and explanation in advance and clear some things up. So First of all, we want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Obviously, we've already heard the impact of the storms along the beaches is already so great, specifically here in Treasure Island, St. Pete Beach, and the South Beaches, as we've seen. And you have an iconic property in the Thunderbird who is an owner who has a strong desire to reinvest in your community and wants to do it in the right way. And while last year, last summer, this past summer, a couple months ago, he obtained approvals to reconstruct the Thunderbird at the same density that it was previously approved for. In speaking with the city staff, with some of the locals, and with the Planning and Zoning Board, they said, you know, we wish that this could be a more creative design, perhaps provide something a little bit different, provide something that might be a bigger impact to the city. So in talking about that internally with our team, we were looking at the countywide rules and looking at options as to what could be some options for the owners that have been so significantly impacted. And so I just wanted to walk through that. This is a similar presentation as was given at P&Z Board, so some of you I know have already watched that. So the Thunderbird opened in 1957 and obviously was closed last year after the hurricanes. And in June, it was approved by the city for reconstruction at 106 rooms. The countywide rules are, and this is something I wanted, you know, the text amendment before you today gives the flexibility to enter into a development agreement with a property owner to reconstruct or to build a property. It does not provide by right density and intensity. It just provides some flexibility. The countywide rules created this flexibility, understanding that there were different needs and different circumstances in the community. For those of you who may not have served on a Forward Pinellas board or are unfamiliar or didn't come up through the planning world of the side, you know, Pinellas County is unique. The state legislature felt that 24 municipalities in the county couldn't regulate itself from a common zoning standpoint, and so they created the Forward Pinellas Agency as a countywide planning agency who drafted the countywide rules that are each municipality is required to comply with both the countywide rules and the state law. One significant misrepresentation that was stated that I want to be clear, there's not an obligation to match the countywide rules. There's only the obligation for a city to be consistent with the countywide rules. There was a lot of discussion about that because of some of the comments that were at the P&Z board on the other item that's not on your agenda tonight. For clarity, there was also some communication between a resident of Treasure Island and Whit Blanton, the executive director for Pinellas, where Mr. Blanton's response seemed to imply that the Forward Pinellas Agency had not met with the applicant or the city on this application and did not declare it to be consistent. And that is also untrue. I'll pass around for the record that this is a letter. I saw that on social media. I sent it to Mr. Blanton and asked him to clarify. Mr. Chapman, who's the executive director of the planning side of Forward Pinellas, called me immediately this morning to apologize for the confusion and to confirm that our planner had met with Forward Pinellas on June 18th. They had reviewed it, they had discussed with your staff about it, and that it certainly is consistent with the rules. So I wanted to enter that into the record, please. So we've established that this proposal is consistent with the countywide rules. The city's general land development regulations and comprehensive plan must be compliant with not only state law, but also the countywide rules. The countywide rules do provide for a cap, and Forward Pinellas also provides for resources for local governments to provide these regulations. So this application is consistent with these rules, as I've said, and as is evidenced by the letter that I sent you. We met multiple times with your staff in talking and the prior city attorney and then this city attorney about what the best way to achieve these results. When we identified that the countywide rules provided this as an option and suggested it to the staff, everyone said that would be a good option for Treasure Island. It provides flexibility for property owners, but provides the ultimate control to you, the commission, because you're negotiating a development agreement. It is perhaps unusual that this is a citizen-initiated application, but candidly, as with all jurisdictions in Pinellas County right now, all the planning staffs are really underwater. Your community development staffs around the area have just been obviously very busy with substantial damage determinations, with reconstruction, and the priorities being the residents, which we all want, all of our residents. I'm also waiting to get back into my home, back in our homes. But that doesn't mean the backbone of the community, the commercial corridors, also need an opportunity to reconstruct in an advantageous way. This proposal does not create by right density. It creates an opportunity for the property owner to negotiate this development agreement for the construction of a new hotel. And this is limited only to transient accommodation units and overnight occupancies. This is not condominiums. This is not any other use. This is limited only in these two zoning districts for transient accommodations. So the proposal is a comprehensive plan amendment and a companion land development regulation text amendment, which is your next item on the agenda, which allows for these alternative temporary lodging, which combines both density and intensity. So while it increases the density, there's a cap on intensity. So you have to measure both, not one or the other. So you have both units per acre and a floor area ratio, and you would have to comply with both under these regulations. It is applied only for resort facilities in the two zoning districts, resort medium and resort facilities high. There's no residential use, condominium resorts, Airbnbs, et cetera. A development agreement is something that's provided for in Chapter 163 of Florida statutes and also is regulated by your development code that allows for the city to negotiate with the applicant design considerations, mobility management requirements, operating characteristics and restrictions, as Commissioner Clark said, parking and open spaces, all of those items that you want to see out of a development. The door is open to have those discussions with the applicant. So while you have seen some potential plans for the Thunderbird, that's just what they are. What could something look like at this density and intensity? It's not a final product or a final application. A development agreement would require public hearings before the LPA and the City Commission, therefore giving you, after negotiation with your staff, an opportunity to then further discuss this in the public. So the ordinance tonight and the comprehensive plan amendment and the text amendment is not to approve any project, and it's not to approve by right density and intensity. It's providing property owners an opportunity to negotiate with the staff for a project in a building that is beneficial to both the city and the property owner. With that, I think I'll hand it over to Isabel, if that's okay. So I'd like to introduce, or actually I was going to introduce Donna. Let's introduce Donna first. Donna Jollimore with the Thunderbird, and she's going to speak a little bit as to the process that they've been going through. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Doctor, Vice Mayor Vasquez, City Commissioner, City staff, residents. We wanted to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our amendments to the current city codes to provide an option for a property owner to increase the density and height at the Thunderbird Beach Resort and certain areas of Treasure Island. We wanted to take this opportunity to address a few items, though. Our team will be going over each of these items in detail during the presentations. First, on the height, we are requesting the city to consider an increase up to 80 feet for the right projects. To put that into perspective, that's simply me standing on top of my next door neighbor, the Treasure Island Beach Resort, and waving to everybody. That's how high we're looking to go. We're not looking to propose a high rise. We're not looking to become Clearwater Beach. We're not looking to become Miami Beach. We want to remain Treasure Island, coastal, charming, and in harmony with the landscape that already exists. Second, the density request is quite simple. We are asking for the city to adopt language from the countywide rules, providing an alternative of 100 rooms per acre with a cap on the FAR. For the Thunderbird, this would allow us to rebuild to 184 rooms if the commission also supported the project and an associated development agreement. Why this matters for the community. Treasure Island is the heart of America's best beaches. America's best beaches are ranked among the top tourist destinations in the United States year after year. Visitors are coming, and they're going to come whether we're ready for them or not. When we don't have enough hotel rooms, the visitors turn to the short-term rentals in our neighborhoods. That means more noise, more traffic, and less of the community character that we all value. Hotels, on the other hand, were designed to manage visitors. We have the staff, we have the security, we have the designated parking. We also have rules in place to keep things orderly. We provide steady jobs for the local families, and we generate tax revenue that supports the schools, the parks, and essential services. More hotel rooms keeps visitors where they belong, and that's near the shops, near the restaurants, on the beach, and out of the residential streets. We can't stop the visitors from coming, but we can decide how to host them responsibly. Allowing additional hotel rooms is a better path forward. That's for residents, for businesses, and for the city as a whole. Throughout the process, I know there's a lot of, like they said, chatter on social media. Our team has been transparent and collaborative. We presented our plan to the LPA, which voted 5-2 in our favor. Prior to this, the team worked directly with the city staff and the staff of Forward Pinellas and presented an action plan to them. And tonight, we're here to continue the same open dialogue with everyone. The request isn't just about rebuilding the hotel, it's about restoring a landmark that has welcomed families for generations. With your support, we can rebuild in a way that strengthens Treasure Island, protects neighborhoods, and preserves the coastal charm that we all love. One final thought that we would like to share. As we considered the direction for the hotel rebuild over the last 11 months, we made it a priority to speak with a lot of the Treasure Island residents and to hear the thoughts on height and density. Earlier this year, also myself and the ownership team met with key city leaders, both past and present, to gather additional perspective. What's most important is that the voices of Treasure Island do matter to us, and we do want you to know that we listened. That is why our request is limited to an option that requires additional negotiation with the city and input from the community at more public hearings. That is why an increase in height is limited to the 80 feet. Again, me standing, waving on top of the Treasure Island Beach Resort. And that's also what is seen in other buildings here in Treasure Island, and why the additional density is a trade-off with the floor area ratio aimed to retain appropriately sized buildings. So we believe that this code change provides a path that can facilitate projects like the Thunderbird to be a source of pride for the community, and that by working together we can achieve something that honors Treasure Island's character while also supporting its future. It's our sincere hope that we have your partnership and support as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I'd like to introduce Isabel Albert, who is an AICP planner. I would like to enter her resume into the record and ask that she be qualified as an expert. I don't know if the mayor needs to accept it formally or if...
No, it's just fine. It's marked.
Okay, thank you. And then also for the record, and it may be easier to see than on the computer screen, here is the PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, Isabel Albert with HAF. I am a certified planner, and I've been assisting staff and the client with these amendments. Basically, we would have to do a comprehensive plan amendment as well as a land development code amendment. Right now, we're hearing the comprehensive plan. I reached staff back in June, early June, and trying to figure out how are we going to go about this. I mean, how do we implement this? And they were overwhelmed, so I said, I'm going to go and reach out to Forward Pinellas, and I'll talk to them and see. There's other jurisdictions doing this, so let's see what they've been doing. And basically, that's what we're proposing, what other jurisdictions have implemented and what Forward Pinellas staff and your staff has supported. So basically, it's just in these two categories. We first came in with the resort facility high, but then in discussion again with staff, they're saying let's also include the medium density because they are also for the resort facilities. So now we're addressing the resort facilities along the beach. And again, it has to be included with a development agreement, and this is the language that was supported by your other jurisdictions. Section 68-121, these are the land development regulations that we have to make sure that we meet those criteria. These are 4 criteria that we have to meet with. We meet the first 2, and the C and D are not applicable to this request, but we do meet the first 2. We then had to do the land development regulations. These are the 5 sections that we had to amend. The first one, obviously, was to address the definition, to include that into the definition. And the next 2 are for the 2 zoning districts that this will affect for the resort facility. And then we talked about the lot and bulk regulations, and obviously, we had to introduce a new development agreement section in there. And these are the 4 items that we had to amend. They're introducing that, and this is also part of your record. These are the 2 zoning district that we had to amend to include these 2. We have the regulations for the schedule of bulk and lot schedule, and this is where you're going to see an added section for the resort, the alternative temporary lodging, where you have that. So we introduced those 2 items in there. Again, it has, and they refer back to the table. So everybody there, it's all interconnected. And this is the development agreement. There's a whole couple pages in that's been introduced, and that Ms. Cole went through and explained to you. Nothing can happen without this in place and this approved by all of you. And these are the standards. These are 2 standards that are required to which we meet. Again, I've met with staff, your staff, Fort Pinilla staff, and worked with them. And by the way, they're great people to work with. And, you know, and like you heard, this is not the first item that's going to have a higher height. You've already, these 2 structures next to us are actually, you know, 75 feet and 148 feet. Obviously, one is grandfathered in, it's been there for a longer time, but this is not a new concept that we're introducing to Treasure Island. That concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions.
I'd like Jalad to introduce the owner as well. Jalad Ova can say a few words.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the City Council and for the residents to come in today. I want to say, first of all, that we come over here from all the good reasons to submit an application to rebuild the Thunderbird Beach Resort. We've been business owners and operators over here in the city of Treasure Island for 25 years, both on the Surf Style flagship store and on the Thunderbird over the last 5 years. We renovated it. I think we did a lot of good things that have been for the community over the years. And like many others over here, we've been affected by the storm, and we want to come back and rebuild and get back to work. We've been out of commission for a year, and we need to get back. I think that, you know, we worked with the city for the last 12 months. Already in January, we met already with some of the council members talking about the rebuild of the Thunderbird, looking at the opportunities that they were there. From the get-go, we represented that even, we looked at it from just, you know, from business standpoint, obviously when you're going to do an investment in that scale, it has to pencil out. And the amount of rooms that we currently have, 106 rooms, it does not pencil out. You need the ability that you need to provide for that much parking, elevate the building, and create that much of amenities and more than what we have today. The project needs to be able to have a return that is going to basically sustain the debt that we're going to take to build it. So it doesn't pencil out at 106 rooms. And from the get-go, we were recommended by the planning director, Catherine, to go in 2 parallel directions. One of them is to grandfather in the 106 rooms that we have, and the other one is to go with something that's expanded, which we work with our legal team to provide and with the city for quite some time to get to that type of conduit. And I think the conduit that was provided to the planning director that also supported it and also staff supported it is a reasonable one. We're really asking for additional 20 feet over the allowed height and for a density that can support the project. And we are here to do it. I know there's been a lot of discussion over here. Like I said, we're here 25 years. We've been through some of those master planning for this city. It takes time. It takes a long time. I know just for that project that we're doing right now, to use the county-wide rules, it's by itself, it's going to take a few months to do that. I know that master planning is going to take 2 years. Right now, the downtown between us and the other properties on the east side, you know, everything over there is flat, is down. I think the city also has a responsibility to get the business owners up and running. And that's for the city's sake and for the business owners as well. We need to have our city come and revived. And what we are submitting over here for a proposal today still have the city as the last say of how it's going to happen. I think definitely get the planner involved is a thing that is blessed and should happen, and we're willing to work with. We definitely want to create and add more amenities that's also going to be for the public. I think we mentioned it to every one of the council members in the meeting. We're willing to provide public parking, additional public parking. We're willing to create almost like an avenue between us and the Billmore that's going to be a beach access, something that's going to be very nice, and continue to create the amenities that we have, the interaction between the boardwalk, the Ikiwuwit, the famous Ikiwuwit that we have that is award-winning all over the county, and continue what we're doing. But we have to get in motion, and working the ability to give us to move forward with that today would also let the city to work on one side on planning with any type of consultant, but keep the things in motion. If we put those things, you have to consider, if you put us aside right now, and that's us, we're coming, I think, as a pioneer over there, but that's the entire downtown. If everything is going to be shut down for 2 years, it takes from the time that the city say go, or that we have some kind of a master plan, takes probably 6 to 9 months just to get it permitted if you're very diligent on what you're doing. And then on a project of our scale, it's about 2 years to build it. And then you have to transition it, to stabilize it, and do all that stuff. So we're talking about 5, 6 years down the road just to have our downtown coming back. I don't think that's reasonable. I think we should think about doing something that's working parallel and still give the city the ability to navigate and control the process. So that's why we're here for you today, and I thank everybody.
So thank you. I'd just like to reiterate how wonderful your staff has been to work with, first with Catherine, but when she was here, and then Mary Ellen, and they've been quite easy and collaborative in talking about what your desires are as policymakers and how the redevelopment and rebuilding of the city can fit into these. So we hope that you agree that having this development agreement option and backstop, but with the flexibility of this additional density in FAR is the right path for resort facilities in Treasure Island to give those property owners the opportunity to rebuild more quickly. So with that, our team's happy to answer questions. I'm sure the city staff is as well. So, and I know you have a lot of people who would like to discuss it. And just for the record, our presentation and I think our comments were applicable to both Ordinance 2025-16 and 2025-17, which is the next item on your agenda. We didn't think it was, it would have been too time-consuming to separate it up into two presentations, so when it's basically the same.
And you can take them up together, Mayor, so if somebody put comments on one versus the other, you can address them all together.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for them?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. The Thunderbird is in Zone RFH 50, so which is the west side of Gulf Boulevard. I was curious why your proposal includes recommendations for changes as well, and RFM 30, which is the east side of Gulf Boulevard.
For the record, Isabel Albert, this was actually in discussion with staff, and they're saying if you're going to make changes for the high, you may as well do the changes. You know, if we're going through the process, let's do it once and get all the to capture all the resort facilities. And each of them, the 30, they still have some caps, and that's going to be based on their sizes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question I was going to have, I know you talked about having 184 rooms. I had seen somewhere along in the last couple of days where you were talking about a parking lot that had 185 parking spaces. Is that not, did I not see that correctly?
I have not seen that, or we don't exactly have anything down planned. I'll let you answer.
I can answer that. No, we didn't present any plan that shows that, but I think we mentioned before that whatever the required parking that is going to be required, we are willing to provide additional, probably 50 to 100 parking spaces additional for the public that is going to be within the project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now let's go to the public comments section. Yeah, we're going to take a restroom recess. So if we can be back in, let's call it, try to do it 5 minutes. Thank you. To call this meeting back to order. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Would everyone please take your seat?
Oh, that was a good idea. Whoever did that.
Gary.
Good job, Gary.
Taking command.
All right, so we're going to be doing public comments. Before I call the first one, please, I think that we all know the height and density. You're either for it, against it, whatever, however. But please, we want to get out of here before midnight tonight. So, and everybody has written down 6, 7, some 6, 7, and 8. So I'd appreciate it as well. We kind of treated the first two, especially number 6 and 7, for the height and density, and it's when you come up, deal with them both at the same time, because we're going to try and deal with them here as well for the vote. So first is Richard Harris.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Richard Harris, 374 Bay Plaza. I've been a professional civil engineer for 39 years now, and I've worked on about 6 million square feet of retail, including being the engineer for Bay Plaza. So I've done a little bit of redevelopment. That was a good project in downtown St. Pete, which is now known as Sundial, so we do have a little experience with that. Been a resident for 39 years. You know, we're talking about 2 distinct zoning districts, the resort facilities high, the resort facilities minimum. A lot of the hotels in those areas are kind of old and dated. The ones that survived Hurricane Helene real quick and were able to open real quickly were interesting ones. They were all the new ones. The Treasure Island Resort, the Ocean Club, the Fusion, Crystal Palms. You know, they cleaned up the mess and got back in business. You know, what we need to have now is a little bit of redevelopment, and an incentive is needed that will help that redevelopment. What is being proposed by the Thunderbird owners is that incentive. And it's not like we're going to give it to them carte blanche. We get to see it again. As head of the P&Z, if it's on the east side of the road, we get to see it. And if it's an ugly building, because a developer's agreement is included, we can turn it down. It has architectural review. You know, if there isn't the proper services in place, we can also turn it down. And the other thing is, if it's on the west side of Gulf Boulevard, the City Commission will see it again. But if there are not water systems, sewer systems, sanitary sewer systems, storm sewer system, roads, and evacuation plans, we can turn this plan down. Again, this is not the last time that this commission and the P&Z board will see it. You know, Ford Pinellas has looked into this. They were talking about a special area plan. We've done a lot of plans in this city. Right now, we just redid the comprehensive land use plan for the city. We have a zoning plan for the city. The downtown area has a downtown redevelopment plan that was done in 2006, and in my opinion is a failure because nobody stepped up and did something for 19 years. Obviously, for that to go forward, we need to revise it. There've been a lot of visioning surveys and plans. Right now, none of those have gone through, unfortunately. You know, it's just my personal opinion that 20 feet higher is just not that much. One thing I did say at the LPA, we do not want to be Sand Key. Everybody who posts on Facebook, the first thing they do is post a picture of Sand Key. I was an engineer on one of the buildings up there. don't want to do that one. That I even ran into an owner of one of the buildings up there. I said, you are an example of what we do not want in Treasure Island. We max out at 80 feet. That would be fine. It's just not that much more than 60 feet, and I think that would be the incentive to kick off what we need. And it's also a matter of where these zoning districts are. We don't want a repeat of the mistakes that were made back in the 70s. I mean, Mansions by the Sea, I'm sure fine people live there. Sunset Chateau, fine people live there. They shouldn't be built where they are. They're out of place. Treasure Sands is grandfathered in, should never have been built. We just want a nice looking building with a lot of amenities that also the residents can go see, like a nice new restaurant. It'd be nice to give the Middle Grounds a little bit of competition. It's the one high-end restaurant we have in town. One thing I do want everybody to recall is the Buccaneer and the Fargo Hotel site. That was where the Treasure Island Resort is now. That site sat empty for 10 years. Obviously, nobody in this town wants that to happen again. I mean, I couldn't believe that nobody wanted to build on that site, and finally the owners of the Treasure Island Resort said, yeah, we'll build there, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask for a variance because we want 7 stories over parking. And rightly so, the commission at that time turned it down because they really didn't have a hardship. But this is going through the right process to get it done to 80 feet. So, let's see. I'm kind of getting out of this area, but the Pirate Square, for instance, that was torn down 2 years ago. This looked like garbage for 2 years. I mean, we want things to move along. It would be nice to have another, well, once again, I'm repeating myself, another nice high-end restaurant in town.
We need to, I'm going to have to shut you down. We have too many. We've had our 5 minutes.
That's fine. I'm about to be done.
Okay.
One last statement. I was over at Walt Disney World, and Walt Disney was a very smart man. I saw some of his quotes on the wall. His quote was, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Let's get it done. Let's go build something for once instead of talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Mark Hoey.
Good evening again. Mark Hoey, District 3. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I do believe that Richard and his group have the best interests of all in mind when doing their work, which is very repetitive and difficult. But let me start, and I attended that last LPA meeting a couple of weeks ago, at which time saw these very similar presentations and the like. Let me say at the beginning, I am not anti-development whatsoever. I'm not anti-height and density changes. I'm willing to listen. I am pro personal property rights. I believe the owners of these private lands have a certain measure of rights to do what they need to do to be able to be profitable on the land they own. But I'm mostly here to talk about being pro-citizen choice, that the citizens have a choice in the matter or a say in the matter. And that's what caught me in that meeting. It wasn't, this has nothing to do specifically with the Thunderbird whatsoever. It was that all of a sudden, and again, good old State Bill, Senate Bill 784 gets thrown up again as a justification to change our process, that everything's getting thrown out, citizens' rights to have a say-so, and it gets thrown out, so let's quickly get out there and do something with it. I recognize the development challenges that we face. The city is years behind. We all know that, years behind in developing any new stuff of any consequence. It's just been slow grind for anybody who's tried. But still, this effort feels forced, that we're forcing through these fundamental changes so quickly, and that the city in itself is ceding responsibility. We're ceding responsibility to private equity. Now again, it was said quite clearly, the folks who were here worked for the property owners. They spent the money to fund them to come work with our city staff. Is that wrong? Maybe not. You have your opinions of it. Maybe it's no different than us hiring Kimley Horn to work with us to overhaul our regulations. So that, I get that. But it's going at such a rapid pace, and I think that is going to ultimately wash away the citizens' say-so in what the area looks like and develops into, especially with the resolution that was just passed earlier, which basically says, you decide. You are going to decide much of the development things going forward. It's not even going to ever come back to the city owners. So I guess that's what I want to leave you with is we need to develop, we need to go forward, but we don't need to cede all of our responsibility, should I say, or our authorities over to private hands. It should be worked together, but it shouldn't be turned over to total private hands. And ultimately, somebody, hopefully other than Treasure Island, challenges 784. We don't have the resources to do it. Hopefully some big city, Mr. Attorney, will step in and take this to task and find out just how that's going to hold up in the long run. But we shouldn't change everything before that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Marie Barba.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Marie Barba, District 4. I attended the LPA as well. I'm an engineer. Sorry, I'm not civil, electrical, computer engineer. But I calculated that when I looked at the ordinances that were before us, 2025, 16, and 17 for the Thunderbird, and of course 24, the downtown district, which is the Pirate Square, it just shocked me that nobody came up with the ratios of the intensity of the increases on the density and on the intensity FARs. So let's talk about the Thunderbird, because I am here to say I recommend you reject this on the premise that the densities and the intensities are extreme. The proposed RFM 30, Motel 30 density would go, they are proposing to go from 15 units to 125 units per acre. That's a 733% increase. Come on. The FAR, the floor area ratio, which is the building plot. I'm talking to a lot of people that are just not aware of how you calculate this. I haven't done this in a long time, but I remember doing this myself. And the building itself, where it sits within the property, you're asking for a footprint from 0.85 to 4. That's a 371 increase. And this is not just one building. We're talking about everything on the island that is Motel 30. Okay, the Thunderbird is RFH 50, which the density there, when you calculate it, they're asking for 50 to 125 units per acre. That's a 150% increase on the units. On the FARs, again, the building plot, that they're asking for a 1.2 to 4, which is a 233% increase that can affect the setbacks, that can affect the building width. It can make it, it's just too much. They're not asking for a little like like it sounds. So in addition to the seemingly huge land grab by, my opinion is a land grab by the property owners, because I think they can build, if these were to have been slightly lower, I think they can build this and still make a profit. These proposals would dismiss ordinance, more insulting to some of us that have been here for 45 years, was the proposal that would dismiss ordinance 2002-04, which establishes the current density and height levels voted by 72 to 76% of the Treasure Island constituency. So the relationship is not just with the business owners and the commission. It's the residential people, the residents, the business owners, and the commission. So we forgot one important component here. And let's not forget, probably over 60% of the property taxes are paid by residents. In addition to a seemingly huge land grab by property owners, these proposals would dismiss that ordinance that in 2002, it established these densities and height levels that were voted in by the constituency by referendum. This was all done initiated by a petition and then had to be brought into referendum because it met all the criteria there for referendum. And I do not, and our city attorney stated that increases in height density do not require a referendum due to the Florida bill. I have 718, I guess it's 784. However, language in the city charter, our city charter specifically states in Article 7, under section 7.07, results of election may contradict this position. So amending or appealing initiative or referendum law, any local ordinance voted into effect or repealed by the electorate pursuant to initiative or referendum procedures respectively as set forth in this charter shall only be subsequently amended or repealed by the electorate at the polls. So in other words, it's not just an ordinance, it's our charter that is you're looking at here and you're looking at a challenge, which I think some of you have gotten the letter today. So you have to be very careful. I'm not the attorney here, but I am reading this from other attorneys. So the requirement here also, in what I read in 718, I have to, excuse me, for 784, I read that it was, if it was not, the state stipulated was not, if this was not in the charter before 2011, that you have to honor the referendum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marie. Not sure. Tim Vanek? Not here? Okay.
Is that it, Baden?
Vanek?
No, I know Tim.
Tim? Oh, okay. No.
I don't see him. He was here. It looks like he might have left.
Jeff Banyan? Yeah.
Good evening. My name's Jeff Bainon, 11460 9th Street, Isle of Palms. I'm speaking a little differently than the lady who spoke eloquently. I'm just speaking as a resident of Treasure Island. My wife and I, we moved here 5 years ago after visiting for 30 years on this island. We took many trips up and down the West Coast to make up our minds. We also continued our search from St. Pete Beach to Clearwater. We finally decided on Treasure Island as it was the ideal spot for us. It was unique, that it wasn't overcrowded like Sarasota or traffic and density or tall buildings like Clearwater. We also knew that there was a mandate on height and density here, and that was very important to us. We strongly feel we would like Treasure Island, we'd like Treasure Island to be map planned like that gentleman came in today. I thought he had great ideas. I did some work in real estate in New York City, and I thought he was a breath of fresh air. And my wife and I both feel, in the interest of transparency and integrity, any commissioner that has any commercial property that can benefit from height and density changes should recuse himself. We think everyone on this board should be listening seriously to your residents who live here and invest in our community. We want to see growth in our town. I reiterate, map and planning is essential, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Barb Adams.
Can I be recognized for a second?
No, we're going to keep moving forward.
Cool.
Barb? Yes.
Okay.
Barb Adams, Isle of Palms Civic Association president. We're kind of in a really unique spot here due to sort of two kind of tragedies, really. One is the demolition of our downtown, which, is, because we've had the storm, it looks like it was wrecked because of the storm, but it's been like that for a long time. And then, of course, the storms, what they did. So we are we do have an incredible opportunity to create something magical here. We do need to update. We do need to make changes. We do need to have ideas. We don't want to just throw things up. And the idea of a plan like we saw with the Carmel was pretty damn cool. And I like the way that the buildings had different facades on the front. It wasn't just like some strip mall or, one big look, that's going to be outdated in 15 years. There was a lot of personality and style. And part of what we have in this community, I think, and we need to get it back, is we have a soul. There's something special about here, and it's kind of like what Jeff was just saying, we were looking everywhere too, and then it was just like, whoa, this is where we need to be. And okay, I know that the parking is an issue, and we don't have the underground space, but if we do like the downtown area, put the buildings close to the sidewalk, put the parking in the back. So we can still walk up and down, and I understand that we can have businesses on the ground level. You don't have to just have that part elevated. You could also do buildings like how he showed us, where parking buildings that look like structures. They don't look like parking buildings. They have and they have they have a store underneath, and you go around the back and you go up, and it doesn't look like an ugly parking garage. And the Thunderbird is iconic. It's special. It's like what you see. It's what you think about when you come here. And I know they want to do something special, and we need it. But we don't want 8 stories, because it's going to start, that means the whole Gulf Boulevard on either side is going to be like that. And then who's to stop it at 8? Then the next person says, well, they got to go to 8 feet. Well, I want to go to 10. That's part of our personality and who we are. And the residents care passionately about this. Everywhere I go, everybody I talk to, they care. They want the height restrictions. And you can do cool stuff. And if you want to make more money in a hotel, make it more elite. Make the rooms like really cool, elite, special. You can still make more money. You don't have to just cram a whole bunch of little boxes in. Make it worth the extra money. Have all the cool features that would bring in the community also. But I think we want to be able to walk. We want a walking community. Put the parking in the back. Hide the parking, but let's keep our height where it is. They're saying, well, we're just going to go up 10 feet. No, it's 8 stories. Right now, we're at 5/1. There is a difference, and there will be people saying, well, now we want more. So let's not just throw out the soul of our community and what makes Treasure Island so cool and funky and special.
Thank you, Barb. Is Charlie Justice still here?
No, he actually.
Okay. Thank you. Derry Smith?
Hi, my name's Derry Smith. I live at 55 79th Terrace. And I put together a petition. I don't know if you all have had a chance to see it. I can send it to you. I put it together with a developer from St. Pete. He developed for like 40 years. And I just want to mention that he thought the FAR of changing it from, I think, what is it, 1.6 maybe to 3, he was shocked. He thought that was crazy. Anyway, and he develops down there. But so I put together this petition a few days ago, and I've had a lot of people sign. While I've been sitting here, it went over 200. I went door to door too, and I have to say that not one person has said, oh, I want height, I want higher, more height and increased density. Not one person have I talked to who has said that. Everybody is always happy to sign. They want to sign. They do not want it. And I would like to give this to you, and I can send you the ones that are online, and I can send a petition, and I'll send it to you all also. So, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Grant Smith.
We're a team. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, staff. My name's Grant Smith. I live on Sunset Beach. I'm also a member of the LPA. And at the recent LPA meeting, I voted against the resolutions 25, 16, and 17, and I voted subsequently for 2020. In retrospect, I would vote against all three. My positive vote for the last one was based on a perception of information provided by the applicant's agents as well as our city staff on the appropriateness of that. So I would vote against all three of those again. I was one of the 2 dissenting votes against the first 2. Private developers are critically important to us. We all want to develop. They bring innovation. They bring ideas. We saw it earlier today. They bring great stuff to our community. We need their investment. They improve our quality of life for not only us, but also the visitors who come see us. However, when private developers put forth proposed change, we can assume that they stand to benefit. They're not going to put forth a proposed change that's going to punish them. So prior to implementing any of these changes by developers or any other party, it should be clear how the municipality and the residents will also benefit from the change. In the ordinance presented by the LPA, there were several claims put forth by both the representatives as well as staff in support of these. In my field, I'm not from Richard's field, but I'm an academic field. Critical thinking is defined as the ability to evaluate the evidence that supports claims of fact. So let's look at the claims that have been put forth and the evidence supporting them. The first claim is that modifications for increased height and density are required to be consistent with the city comprehensive plan. From the developer's agent, they said the amendment is intended to bring us in line with the county plan. From staff, it said land development regulations are required to be consistent with the county plan. There was a slight correction from the agent this evening. We already are in compliance. We already are in alignment. There's no reason to change it. Consistent does not mean the same or equal. It simply means that we are not exceeding. We actually have the right as a municipality to build more restrictive components to it. The second claim, additional density allowances are required for development to invest, for developers to invest. This claim lacks adequate evidence. There is no evidence. There's no feasibility report that was given to LPA. There's no financial analysis. There's no expressed interest among other developers on what their levels of investment would be. We simply have 2 developers saying you have to increase height and density or we won't invest. Today we got another piece of evidence. It doesn't pencil out. That's the extent of the evidence we've got supporting these. The third claim, developers will not build to maximum. In other words, we're just getting in alignment with the county, maximum. As Richard said, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to build to that. It's going to be subject to review. First of all, this claim lacks evidence to say they're not going to build to the maximum, and it's not even logical because it's inconsistent with the preceding claim. If they need additional height and density to be profitable, they're not going to not build to the maximum. So you have to reject this. This is just ridiculousness. Logically, the developer's asking for as much as they can so they can do that, and we can't fault them. It's their business. The final claim, the proposed changes will be a net positive for the city. This is an interesting claim, right? Because it lacks evidence and only presents half the story. Benefits, recovery from the storm, walkability, tourism, investment incentive, increased tax revenue. All of these benefits are available under our current plans with redevelopment. We saw it in Carmel. We saw what can be done with height and density remaining the same if we have imaginative developers to come in. We don't have to change anything in order to get a net positive. In addition to that, there are costs associated with increasing density and height. There's infrastructure demands on our sewer system, our water, on our stormwater, public services, police, fire, EMS. All of these are going to be increased. Traffic density, evacuation concerns, it goes on and on. The fact is there's no evidence supporting that this is going to produce a net positive for the city. There's no comparatives from other cities. There's no cost-benefit analysis that was presented. There's nothing. We did get another piece of evidence from the agents representing the Thunderbird today, and that is we believe this will be good for the city. That's the extent of the evidence we're getting. The proposed ordinance for increased height and density are based on claims that are erroneous or unsubstantiated. Prior to adopting any ordinance of this magnitude, steps should be taken to move from the developer assertions to evidence-based determination. Policy recommendations should be grounded in data, not speculation, particularly when the parties advancing the claims stand to gain personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Chris Downing.
Evening, Commissioners and staff. I'm Chris Downing, District 2, Isle of Palms. First, Grant, thank you for laying out the case as it is before you. I think, he went through every step to indicate whether or not you should go forward or not in this case. Really good job, Grant. I wrote a letter last week after I'm also on the LPA and P&Z, which you all know. I was also one of the no votes on 2, and if I had to do it again, I'd be a no vote on the 3. And it was because of what I learned afterwards that in some study that we didn't have to go to the max to be consistent with the county plan. We were allowed as a city to do something other than that. And as was already mentioned, we're already effectively in, if you will, consistent with the county plan. We just don't have that not going up to that max. And when you allow it to go up to that max, naturally, developers are going to come in and ask for going towards that max with every case, and it gets harder and harder to hold it back. So there's always this level. And, it's been mentioned 10 feet, 20 feet, whatever it is, that is a lot. No matter how you cut it, you're changing what's going on. And the density increases are very, very substantial with these changes. Barb, you said magic. We have the chance to do something magical here in Treasure Island. We have a blank palette to work with because of some of the tragedies and because of the storms, and because of downtown, what happened before the storm. So we have a chance to actually do something magical. And Richard talked about Walt Disney not, go ahead and go forward without a plan. I am positive that Walt Disney had a plan for Disneyland, and he had a plan for Disney World. He didn't do it without a plan. So we're a small city, but we should still have a master plan. We have a comprehensive plan, but that's not a master plan to develop the city and to do it in a consistent way so that everyone can succeed. The residents, the businesses, the developers, and I applaud, the Thunderbird for wanting to do something and stay here in Treasure Island. We want you here. We want you to be profitable. We just don't want to change the whole city for one hotel. And that's what these ordinances do, these changes to the rules. They change not just the rules for the Thunderbird. They're going to change it for those 2 districts, and those 2 districts are substantial changes. And so I think all of us should take a step back. We need a master plan. If we don't do it this way, I think it's going to be, if we don't do a master plan and take the time to do it, we'll end up in more litigation, and it's going to take more time, not less time. It's going to, if we take a step back to do a plan, it'll actually speed things up. I know no one wants to spend more money to do that. We don't want to slow people down. We don't want to slow the redevelopment down. But honestly, you just can't do it without a plan. A point in every direction is just no point at all, and that's what we're going to end up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Mayor, I'm going to wait till the end, but if anybody has legal questions, because instead of just opinion, there's a lot of legal points being raised. If you want me to address some of the legal points, I think it's important to probably do that in the interim, especially if there's a lot of comments. A couple just need to be made very quickly. This is an amendment to the comprehensive plan that allows you, as the commission, to, in the future, if you wish, look at a development agreement and say, okay, we want that. That's it. It doesn't entitle height, it doesn't entitle density. If you pass this, density doesn't go up, height doesn't go up. What goes up is the options the city has to potentially, if you wish, enter into an agreement or even receive proposals from parcel owners to be considered and for you to then, again, condition, et cetera. So there's been at least 3 comments that says this is absolutely, everyone's going to get the max. There's going to be precedent. They're going to get the max every time. No, you can vote no every single time. So you can pass this, and then 50 applications come in, and you vote no on every single one that asks for the max. Just that needs to be made. That's a very important point. Legally, you're not constricted. So I think that's the most important one that needs to be made. I mean, it was made by the applicant, but I'm here to affirm to you that you're not being tied into a particular development agreement in the future. And if you have questions about that, feel free to ask.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. Diana Crable.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and staff. As you well know, I'm not an unfamiliar face around here, and I'm going to come out straight and ask you to at least delay this vote tonight. Everybody's kind of beat around the bush on saying why they don't want it and things, and I don't disagree. Let me put it this way, in a positive factor. I agree with everything that has been said tonight. However, I will have to say I do not like that we have 2 petitioners, shall we say, making a text amendment that when we're looking at this, that's like 2 properties or like 4 parcels total between Thunderbird and what the Byrne family is going to do. First of all, I think what Thunderbird has planned sounds wonderful. They're an icon. I want to see them stay. I want our downtown developed. Byrnes are willing to do that. I don't think that this should be voted on tonight. And I'm going to go a little bit further on the master plan. But the other thing, and I'm asking a question, and I know it won't be answered, but who's been representing us when we're doing this county-wide plan? Who represents Treasure Island? We need to take a good, hard look at that. Because you follow the money, who's going to get the majority of the money? It's going to be the county. It's not going to be us. Looking at my real estate tax that I got, only 23% of all of the taxes come back to Treasure Island. So follow the money. So when they come up with this countywide plan, and it may be very just for the max, we need to be asking ourselves, what are the statistics for our wastewater capacity with increased density, not in just these 2 instances, these 2 cases, but for all 3 of these zoning areas, if they went to their maximum, what is that going to do to our wastewater systems? Are you considering the buying, selling, or transferring of density from one property to another? This was a toolbox item that the LPA had several years ago, because as being a prior member of LPA and P&Z, this was a discussion that we had in our comprehensive plan when we were going back in that in probably 2020, and it didn't get passed because of COVID and everything until later on. So that's another consideration that you have to do. What financial effect will this have on our new solid waste contract? What effect will this expansion have on our letter of interest to the county for possibly taking over our complete sewer system and stuff? There's a lot of unanswered questions that we need to have before you make a decision. This is my opinion, but I just think it's kind of prudent looking at that way. And if you increase density, you're going to have taller buildings. Okay, we already have problems trying to decide on a fire station, the location, and not having trash trucks to pay. And if you go higher in height because of the density and stuff, what's the chance of you needing an aerial fire truck? That's considered a lateral truck if you're not familiar with that. I looked that cost up. For a new truck, that's $750,000 up to over $1.5 million. How are we going to house this underneath current conditions, or how is that going to affect a new safety building for the fire or fire/police department? Again, you have to follow the money. Countywide plan, who's getting all those tax dollars? It's the county. Do we get a little out of that? Yes. For visit St. Pete Clearwater, but that's not saying Treasure Island. And we're getting some beach nourishment out of it this time, but that's not always. But we're also funding the race. I can watch those on TV free. I mean, you don't have the ambiance of being there at the game, but you've got to be following the money and asking the real hard questions on how it affects us. With that, may I just say, we need workshops, and please, for these long-lasting plans, and please at least delay, if not deny, this request and the other ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Sarah Pennington. Sarah Pennington.
Good evening, Sarah Pennington, Isle of Palms. My comments are applying to H6 and H7. And I do want to start out by saying that I love the Thunderbird. West and I are also residents that moved to Treasure Island specifically we love the vintage signs and the motels and all of the charm that we have. We love that, and we love the Thunderbird, and I don't want to see that go away. I think many residents that are against some of this development get painted with a brush as being totally anti-development, and that's not accurate. I'm definitely not anti-development, and I look forward to having a beautiful downtown in Treasure Island. But I do agree that it is unusual for a developer to be the person initiating the change, which is what the representative said there. I do think that is unusual, and I noticed that she had clarified that finally clarified that the city does not have to match the county, but it needs to be consistent. But there was no definition of what consistent means, which Grant Smith actually then further clarified for us that consistent means just within the plan, and we already there. So even though if we decided to do this and it's done on a case-by-case basis for each hotel, it concerns me that precedent will be set. I know our attorney just said, well, you can say no to all of them. I don't think that's realistically going to happen. Why would we even do this if you were going to say no to all of them? And then once you say yes to one, how are you going to say no to the next one and not set the city up into peril of having a potential lawsuit. So that is a concern for me. I did notice that the agent had referred to the LPA voted 5-2 in favor for this, but that's because the LPA was erroneously told that we were required to be in line with the countywide plan, which is not correct. So the Thunderbird changing density, honestly, it may or may not be a good thing. I don't know that, but I think allowing them to actually change our city's comprehensive plan could put us into a bad situation. Like I mentioned, lawsuits. Once you allow one, how are you not going to allow the next? So I believe that if we are looking into making any changes to our comprehensive plan, that should be done with the master plan, something similar to what the gentleman from Carmel did in his town. Doing things just with urgency because we desperately need it right now and not having a plan got us in trouble already. Things like terrain modification manual, things like this building, the living shoreline. There's things that we've done as a city because, oh my God, we have to do it right now, and it didn't turn out so great. So I think it's important for us to take the time and have a plan. Another concern that I have in mind is how do we ensure that developers aren't just coming to the commission to get these increases approved solely for the reason just to increase their property value so they can sell it and move it along to the next developer. While I believe that businesses must be profitable, it's not the city's job to ensure every single developer makes the most profit off of their property. I'll also say that if an investor buys land and they cannot make a profit developing it under our current regulations, does that not mean that that person just paid too much for that property? Like, at what point is it the city's responsibility to make sure that someone makes a profit off of their land? So I think if our comprehensive plan is going to be changed, it should be initiated by our city on behalf of the residents and the businesses with everyone in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. West.
West Evans, Isle of Palms. Sarah kind of stole a bunch of my, I think she was looking over my shoulder. We love the Thunderbird. It's true that one of the reasons we chose, it's not one of the reasons, the reason we chose Treasure Island is because it was a cool little vintage mid-century town. It still had all the Florida architecture and Florida charm that we loved. In fact, when we first were looking at places down here, the realtor kind of tried to just drive us through Treasure Island at first because he wanted us to find a big tall condo somewhere where, you know, he could put us in there and make a big commission. And we saw Treasure Island, and we couldn't believe how charming it was. And one of those things was, of course, the Thunderbird. We love pulling it down 107th and seeing the Thunderbird sign lit up at night. With that said, I understand that the Thunderbird has an investment and a certain amount of profit they need to turn. But like Sarah said, it's not the city, the commission, or our staff's job to maximize a developer or a business's profit. That's on the back of the developer or the business to do themselves, which I don't fault them for coming here and trying to maximize it. But that's also our job as a people who have our own investments and our own homes, our own neighborhoods, and the lifestyles we live in this community. And that's 6,000 people invested in this community, not just one person invested in one property. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And I also think maybe if we had some sort of master plan like the gentleman from Iowa or where, someplace that's not Florida. I don't know. I only care about Florida, all right? But God bless him. He did a great job in his town and had a nice presentation there. It seems like he knows a lot about introducing tax incentives and the TIF system or whatever. It seems like things like this, if maybe he could speak to the property owners of the Thunderbird, maybe in the end, this could end up saving them millions of dollars and still have a very profitable hotel on their hands that benefits the city, benefits the residents, and benefits the property owner as well as the people who come visit because of how nice the property will be. So I would say we need to look towards having a master plan, even if it's not the gentleman that spoke earlier, but someone that has some kind of experience like that. We could have a cohesive community, very, a well thought out plan where everyone is happy, everyone can be proud of what we have here. So I'd like to ask the commission to table this or vote no on this, not because I dislike the Thunderbird, but because I think it's the right thing to do for the city. And I just ask for the Thunderbird to please take the residents in mind and be a good neighbor to us as we want to be a good neighbor to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Ingrid.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commission, and all my friends. I'll be brief because they've said everything that I would have said too. I love the Thunderbird. I'll tell you a quick story about that instead of everything. First, I'd like to ask, though, about the referendum that we did have nearly 10 years ago, and really a huge opposition to any increase of height and density. By the way, I'm Isle of Palms, District 2. What happened to that? Does that not have any weight here? Is it now just up to the commission? I wonder, how did that happen? I'm really asking. Is there some legal way that you can just override that? That's in place. That's, as was mentioned, part of our charter, perhaps even. It's certainly an ordinance. It's certainly part of what we've decided on 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Would
Anthony,
you like to
would you?
that?
You want me to jump in that? Yeah, it's the referendum
I think everybody
process.
has that question.
The referendum process that's in the charter is a general one about overriding ordinances, including ones that have to do with the development orders. It's now void, completely void. There was another mention of a referendum that's in the form of an ordinance from 15, 20 years ago. That's also void because all ordinances that control development orders that require referendums are also now void. So there can be a legal challenge. I'm 100% certain it will be dispensed with very quickly. It will not be successful against the city. The referendums are the way that this one is constructed, even though there's a clause in the statute that passed that says charter amendments that are specific to height and density that are previous to 2011 are grandfathered in. That's not what we have here. We don't have a charter provision regarding referendums that's specific to height and density. We have a general charter provision pre-2011 that speaks to overriding any ordinance that a group of citizens don't like that they could force back over the commission. And that those themselves are not been grandfathered. And so that's why a legal challenge would not be successful. So again, I would just want to reiterate, like, the threat can be made. It's not going to be successful.
You're saying that's void, though?
Void.
It's void.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, there could be another, perhaps, too.
Sure.
Yeah. That's more carefully worded, but you know the intent of that.
Well, I'm saying Tallahassee has taken control of that process, not.
Okay, yeah, thank you for.
Okay, just for clarity here, too, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has that question. But back to the Thunderbird, because that was when I was 10 years old, true story. I grew up in Tampa, I've been here almost 60 years, and we drove, I don't know how long, because there was no interstate. Came for a 10-year-old birthday party to the beautiful Thunderbird, and I was so impressed that there was a mosaic of the Thunderbird on the bottom of the pool. And when I came here to live 10 years ago, I'm like, is it still there? I hope it is. And it was. And I hope it stays. That's just part of the charm of this whole place. And to Barb's point, we have a chance here now for magic, it's a blank slate. It really is blank, all right? We have a blank downtown. We have the chance to move our garbage trucks in the city hall and all the police and fire off the water, have a park there. There are all kinds of opportunities. And I think that the green space is being overlooked as equally important to occupied space. Once you pave over that, it's gone for at least 200 years, at least, right? That's not the only way to have a profitable, viable, successful, beautiful place. You don't pave over everything and make the most, squeeze all the money out of it. That has money, that is an asset. And it's one that other places don't have on this beach. Up and down the beach, you can't even see the beach anymore. But here you can. You can catch a glimpse of it every now and then right here. And I hope we can for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Lunt? L-U-C-H-T? Okay. Mike Pennell? Thank you.
I don't have a lot. Is this on? Yeah. I don't have a lot to add. I really have enjoyed listening to all this, and there's some great comments here. I'm going to go old school because I'm really old. Some emails and some Facebook pages have been flying around for the last couple of days. There's some pretty serious allegations have been made, and it's pretty disturbing for an old guy. I believe in character, I believe in values, and I really believe in local government is the place where you start pushing back against all of the stuff that's been going on in Tallahassee and in Washington, D.C. And we got a chance to do some good stuff here right now. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been wiped out because of this, but with every disaster, there's opportunity. When there's clearly conflicts of interest, stated, intended, or otherwise out there, just the perception of those in somebody's leadership position is wrong. It's dead wrong, and it needs to be fixed. It's wrong. And I guess us old guys take that to heart. We kind of live by a different code, I guess, than some people do now. And it really means a lot to me personally. That's an important thing. So I'm not accusing anybody of anything because I think what that was a whole lot to do about nothing. But it brings up the opportunities to say, you guys, all of us, are in this room for a reason. We all love this community. We're all part of this community. And we all ought to be working towards some end goal of this community. And that end goal is a master plan. That end goal is having a frickin' plan. Where are the sidewalks over this that we've planned to go back and forth from this side to that side so people are not ganged up? Where are the walkways to get out to the beach if you park here? If you're coming from St. Pete and you got to park somewhere. Where are those things? Where's the bike paths to do that with? There's some really neat things we can do right now. And we need to start, I think, planning that and plan it around something so you can invite in people. I think the biggest thing I've heard tonight is where's the bait? Where's the bait to invite in these great business entrepreneurs and bring them in here and get them excited about building something back? And that's leadership, guys, and that's got to start in this room. And we got to, instead of fighting among each other, I think we really need to go the other way. Just really, really look at this, get everybody's input quickly, and let the gentlemen that want to get things going, get them going. I don't like the height requirements and all that, but I've heard enough tonight to know that something could be worked out here. And if I think I was running the damn thing, we'd have some solutions right now, because I think there's some good opportunities. But anyway, integrity is the most important thing that you can do. And it isn't legal, it's in your heart.
Thank you, Mike. All right, and that, yes.
At some point, I think it's appropriate for me to address the concern about who can vote and who can't vote. So just, I mean, if you want me to do it earlier, you want me to do it later, it's up to you, but I'm happy.
Let's wait. Let me close the public comment. And the card that you had, everybody had to fill out a card, and they needed to be in by 6:15.
It says Thunderbird.
I'm sorry?
I did.
Yeah, but you did it later in the program here. All right. Now what we're going to take a look at is we actually need a motion, or did you read one?
We have a motion and a second. But
Okay.
They obviously weren't in time.
Okay. And your name? Okay. Come on up. We'll open our public comment for you.
Good evening. My name is Sharon McClendon. Now I live in South Pasadena because my house had to be torn down because FEMA told me that I had to tear my house down. I didn't have any different other considerations. I didn't have a ordinance or anything that said that I could keep my house. I had to tear it down, but I'll be back. So these are just some comments that I have. So the representative from the Thunderbird said that we need to keep visitors where the visitors need to be and away from the neighborhoods. We have regulations in place that keep short-term rentals where short-term rentals should be and out of residential areas. And some of those houses that they've been building that are those big box houses, like on Sunset and whatever, those are houses that people are renting. Those are rentals. People don't want little hotel rooms. They want condos. They want houses. They want things that are better than just two queen-size beds with a little refrigerator and a microwave. I don't know if that's what the increase in density gives them, but I don't think that that's the way you want to go. I also wanted to say that we do welcome all visitors. We want more visitors, but we can't have so many that we can't take care of. We have a fire department, we have a police department, we have a sewer system, we have trash, we have all that stuff. If you start building an increase on both sides, where is all that going to come from? And I don't know how many stories 80 feet is, but it seems big. An increase in, the storm should not be an excuse to change the complexion of Treasure Island. In 2004, and again, some other time later after that, when we could still vote on how the city would be looking, it was turned down both times. In 2004, when I was on the Planning and Zoning Board, the city recommended that we pass the height and density increase, and we didn't. I don't know if the second time it's come up since then, if it was also recommended by the city that we should go forward with that we didn't. In 2004, when that happened, Chuck Cower was the city manager. Chuck Cower, who then went to work for Bill Edwards, who was one of the main developers that was going to be building on the island. Just a thought. And I don't understand, so if, and this is obviously new things that have come from Tallahassee, but if you can tell one person that they can go up 8 stories or 10 stories or whatever, and not tell another one, isn't that like spot zoning? I mean, you zoned that particular one for something, and now you're not going to let that person, and the attorney's saying no, but it just seems like it's a...
If you want, I can just very briefly respond. It's just not a legal precedent. If your question is it a legal precedent that could then be held against the city later? No, because it's fact-specific, site-specific to those sites. And each one, again, with the development agreement, can be mitigated with certain things that are unique to that site. This site has this traffic pattern. This one has that. Therefore, it's not precedent. It does not open up the city to any liability. Spot zoning is a different concept, but thank you.
And then in response to that, have you ever driven by the Thunderbird from February through, say, 4th of July, when the signal is, and the people are trying to get in and people are trying to get out? the traffic pattern to get in and out of the Thunderbird is a nightmare. I've seen at least 3 accidents where people were trying to get out because the light had just changed and they had to wait for 2 other signals. So that is something that you would have to change again. And I don't know why we would have all these ordinances. If you can say no to every one of them, why would we even bother doing this? And then my last thing is, there's an author, a Florida author who recently passed away. His name is Tim Dorsey. And at one point in time in one of his books, he wrote about, he had Treasure Island in there. I think it was Hammerhead Hotel. And he picked Treasure Island because of all the quirky quaintness that we have. So I'd like to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, now we'll close public comment again, and we have a motion and a second.
Can we just, Mayor, with your permission, can we go ahead and have the attorney address the voting issue before we vote on it? That way everybody kind of know, and just
Sure.
kind of put
Yeah, so one of the commissioners asked me, or several did actually, to explain the law of when you have to abstain. You only have a conflict, a voting conflict, which would require you to abstain if you have a special private gain or loss. Special private gain or loss means that that vote uniquely advantages either you or an associate or a family member. If you're part of a larger class of people that benefit or don't benefit from a particular vote, then you don't have a voting conflict. If you don't have a voting conflict, if you have determined you do not have a voting conflict, then you must vote. You actually must vote. There's another statute. That statute is, just one moment, 286.012 that says if you determine you don't have a conflict, then you must vote. And there's a 4-factor test. I've written a memo. I've distributed to anyone who's asked about when there is a conflict. And no members of this commission at this point have a conflict because no one has property that's part of a unique class. It's a general class. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of parcels that are affected by these votes. It's no different than you voting to cut taxes when you know it's going to benefit you because you're part of a general class of property owners that are going to benefit from a tax cut. So there is no conflict here. You're obligated to vote if you agree. Again, this is advice. Each commissioner has to come up with his own determination. But if you decided applying the 4-factor test of Chapter 112,
can we please have some silence in the audience?
That you don't have a conflict, then you must vote. And again, obviously, the applicant has the chance to come up and summarize their case. But I just want to reiterate one more time because I think it's extremely important and it should be extremely clear that if you vote for a comprehensive plan amendment that allows you to, in the future, consider higher densities, it's not a precedent to any application, and it doesn't entitle them to a specific higher density for any application because they're all subject to a development agreement. Development agreement is a very peculiar thing in Florida law, and it allows all types of conditions that you can mitigate the property with through considerations. There were comments about parks and fire service and water. All of that can be part of the development agreement. So just something to consider. With that said, I think you can go either to debate or have the applicant, do a conclusion.
Would you like to do any type of conclusion?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, since we have been here, and I know we heard a lot of the same things, so I just wanted to recap. The proposal is not to use a cliche that came up a lot at the planning board, a tool in the city's tool belt to use to stimulate and negotiate redevelopment in your city. It actually provides you a path to create the vision that's been discussed tonight. It allows you to negotiate with these property owners with respect to the sidewalks, with respect to the open space, with respect to the mobility challenges, that otherwise, if a site plan comes in and meets the criteria for your site plan approval, may not be on the table for you to ask for that information. That's the only way to get these added benefits that everybody says that they want tonight, and to provide the flexibility to the developer or to the property owner to really have that discussion with you. It gives the property owners an incentive to reconstruct. It provides guardrails for the city. It requires these negotiations. And I didn't want the development agreement requirements that are proposed to be lost. It has required hurricane evacuation plans and procedures for hotel rooms. It has mobility management requirements, and it has a development agreement under 163 has the additional opportunity for the city to discuss the infrastructure and concurrency needs that have been discussed to date. Whereas otherwise, potentially a site plan application may not have those same abilities. So this is a tool that we hope you recognize can be used with these guardrails and with these further discussions. I also wanted to remind you what was discussed at LPA and what was discussed at the beginning of the hearing. This is the first reading. This then would be transmitted to the state for a concurrency reading, and a second hearing would be in about 60 days. I would hope and expect, since you have a property owner who is ready to have some of these discussions and is anxious to rebuild, I would think that not only the property owner who's asked for this, but others may be in line knocking on your staff's door to start these discussions about how this might work. So this is really just a tool. We hope that you want to include this tool in the city's toolbox and allow these property owners who want to rebuild the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are we ready to take a vote?
I think we should have more, after hearing everybody's comments, we should have
Sure. Go ahead and start.
Well, I was just going to say,
Microphone.
I assume we're all going to comment.
Sorry.
Assume we're all going to comment. We just want to go district.
The mics need to be.
I just said I assume we're all going to comment. Do we just want to start with District 1 and go through the?
Well, we don't have to.
Here,
Arden,
that's
go
fine.
ahead.
That's good. No,
No, you can go ahead, Arden.
No, I'd like Commissioner Clark's suggestion.
Okay, that's fine.
That way I get to go last.
We don't want to be on CVTI's bad side now. I know, burn. Ooh.
So thank you for the presentation. It was very good. And you know, my hopes would be that those not only that are here tonight, but those listening in truly heard the reasoning behind this and that it is a tool in the toolbox moving forward. You know, comments were made about, you know, it's not our responsibility. You're absolutely right. I'm a business owner. It's not your responsibility to make sure that I make a profit. However, if the city of Seminole and the city of St. Petersburg, where my businesses are, had restrictions in place that even restrict a conversation, that's an issue. We've had the Gators property sitting empty for over a decade. And, you know, it was said in one of the comments that no one, you know, only two property owners, the Pirates Square and Thunderbird are the only two who have said they won't rebuild if they can't have that. Well, first of all, I've never heard the Thunderbird say that. But second of all, and quite frankly, I've never heard Pirate Square say that. But I have heard the Gators property say that, and has proven that unless Treasure Island is willing to have a conversation, that they'll sit on it. And we come over that bridge and we look at that empty, awful piece of property just sitting there, and that is the entrance to our city. So much beautiful things could be done with that piece of property, and it's sat there for over a decade. A lot of the people, and I'm by no means discounting, a lot of the people that I hear complain the most are the people that have been here for 5 years or less, 6 years or less. I grew up here. I've been here since I was a little kid. I was 8 years old when we moved to Treasure Island. And I love this island. I know if you've been here 5 years or less, you still love this island. But why is it okay for you to come here, but nobody else? Are we just supposed to put the bridges up? I don't think so. We have to look forward. We have to look to building this city back. This is a tool. This is not anything more than that. There's been so much false narrative put out there that, and I feel bad because those who read it and who maybe don't have the time to come to meetings or truly do their homework, they see that in passing and they're like, oh my gosh, and it's shock and awe. And it's not fact, it's opinion. Just like when people say, I think they can build it the way we think it should be built and make a profit. You know, numbers and facts and figures don't lie. What that is, I don't know. I'm not a developer, never been a developer. However, what I will say is having a tool in our toolbox is what we need to move this city forward. What we've done for the past few decades it doesn't work now. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a mid-century modern freak. I love it. I love the look. Unfortunately, the storm took most of that away. The Thunderbird wants to keep the sign. They want that vintage sign. That is what people know when they come over that bridge. But you can't come over the bridge and you can't drive around our town right now. And if you're honest with yourself, you can't say, oh, I love our charming town. Our town is not charming right now. We are ran down. We have fences around motels. We have dirt lots. We don't have a downtown, and there's a reason. And no matter what we all feel in our hearts, I would love to have the Treasure Island of the 80s. I would absolutely love that. I don't know who wouldn't, but it's gone. And we have to be storm resilient. We have to allow there to be tools in the toolbox. We have to be able to look forward of what is going to be for the next few decades. And it's our job up here to listen. We've all gotten these emails. I know I get accused quite frequently on social media of having ghost constituents, which is hilarious to me.
They accused me of
and
having.
I have no doubt there's really only one person they don't accuse of that. However, all of us received all the emails, and I can truly and honestly say I have even been surprised that the emails we've received in the last 48 hours have been pretty equal. People for the yes, all of us got the emails. You can laugh if you'd like, that's perfectly fine. But I am telling you no, and as a matter of fact, we could have read them. They asked for them to be read, but we chose not to. And I would gladly read one with permission of the mayor. May I read it?
Let's just,
Is your hammer not working today?
Yeah.
Because everybody accuses me of this. I would be more than happy to read the one that starts off with the reason they're not here is because of the amount of bullying that they would receive. Did everyone receive that email? Did everyone receive that email? I don't. It came in. And no, it's not one email, this particular email, but several emails. I'm not going to, and I apologize. Several emails came in support. Just because not everyone here agrees with that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. We all got them. My point being is we cannot continue to do what we've been doing for the last few decades. That's why we are where we are at today. We're not sustainable. If another storm hits us, it's scary. I don't even want to think about it. But what we do have to do is responsibly work with our property owners and quit telling them no on everything. We've been doing that for decades, and that's why we have empty lots and fences around our hotels. And that is my opinion.
Chris.
If my teeth are chattering, it's because it's like 20 below up here. But I am 1,000,000% for development, and I love the Thunderbird. But we're at a pivotal time here with our city. We have had two hurricanes, and we have a real blank slate to build this town back into something amazing. I've talked to a ton of people, and I think one of the most positive things that I've garnered out of those conversations over the last couple of months and weeks is that I think 75% of the people who in the past wanted zero development in this town now realize that we have to have development. And that we can't go on with empty parking lots. We can't go on with, a town that's run down. But what they've all said is that they want smart development. I can just give multiple things. I had 65 people at a budget meeting upstairs, and we talked about the budget, and then I talked about some of the other issues of the town, and I brought this up. What do you guys think of this? And that's what I got. Is we want development. We don't want a hodgepodge. We don't want something over here, nothing that doesn't match. And I was at a resident's home last night with 20 residents at it, and I heard the same thing. And that is why when Jim stood up and talked, I'm like, this is someone like him, doesn't have to be him. If some people don't like Jim, there's other people that could do it. I mean, because he can't build parking garages underground here. I saw parking garages in his pictures that I didn't even know were a parking garage, like a beautiful building. But anyhow, someone like him that is going to come in and knows what they're doing, knows how to do public-private partnerships, TIF districts, and he could probably help us build our fire station, and we can say what we want, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on TIFs or public, and I don't believe anyone up here on this commission are. And I don't really believe there's very few people in this town that even know how to do it. So we need someone, doesn't have to be Jim, someone like Jim, to come in here and help us. And that's what we've never had, and that's why we never have had anything here. And so, I mean, I said it before, and we need to bring in developers, and that's someone Jim could do. They could bring in they've worked with the best architects, the best engineers. They can bring in the developers that are willing to not only do stuff that they can make money, but they're going to give back to the town and really help us. And what people don't understand is that's going to bring up all the other developers' values here also. And so, like I said, we need to bring developers that are willing to work with us and what we want and how we want it to look, and that are going to give back to the community. And again, we now have that opportunity because so many people that didn't want development in the past now know that we need it. And to me, we're just doing this backwards. We're letting the developers do it. We should be driving it. We can making sure that we're doing stuff that is beneficial to both us and them. I want it to be beneficial for them too. And again, we're trying to go from 0 to 100, and I love Richard Harris. He's great. I love going to lunch with him. But we're going to pull another TMM here. Richard wanted fill dirt. We wanted TMM. We got it. And now what are we trying to do? Richard's trying to help me get rid of the thing. It's been a disaster because we rushed into it. And and the other thing I heard a couple people bring up, we're not responsible if someone comes in and paid too much for their property. I'm not saying that the Thunderbird did, but I have a question, I guess, for some of these developers. If we're going to pass this and they're going to build to the max and then sell their place in 5 years, will they split the profits with us? I guess that's what I'd like to know. I want an awesome town. I want something that looks like Rosemary Beach, or someplace like that. It looks awesome, and we're not going to get that going down this road. My district wants development. Like I said before, they just want smart development. And I don't care what people say about me, and I've heard people say that I only vote because of a small group of people or for one individual resident. I have a ton of residents here tonight, and I've talked to probably half the people that voted for me about this. And one thing I can guarantee you is this. I don't vote for one individual, for one group of people, or for Charlie Brown, or for Mickey Mouse. I vote for what my residents want, and my residents know that, and I thank them for it.
Commissioners, is on.
Would you like to go? No, thank you. All right, well, my notes are scattered everywhere here. Gators actually has been empty for 18 years. Yep, all right. I want to do a full disclosure. It's not what you think. I personally gave Greg Smith, Citizens Voice Treasure Island, $2,000 early on when he approached me with his idea of Citizens Voice. I asked for a refund a couple times, and I haven't got it back yet. And although I really don't care what residents have talked to me about online, but when you're banned on Facebook pages and you can't, have a rebuttal to Mr. Vassey's attack on my character because he doesn't know all the facts. He's just used ChatGPT to figure it out, as stated on some of the emails that came to us. So, I mean, I think that's, yeah, it is relevant. And you actually sent me an email that I'm a fraud.
Yeah, you want to share all of them?
Sure.
Okay,
Yep.
please. We're not going to have a debate with the audience.
Thank you. So let's see here. So, I mean, so my vote is based on these assumptions that height and density can be considered later. I would love to see what our leader, what his thoughts are on the issue, and that's you, Commissioner or Mayor Doctor. That's really all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Dickey.
Okay. We've referenced Senate Bill 718 and House Bill 41 quite frequently tonight. And that bill basically was passed in 2023, and it allows city commissions and county commissions to make decisions on LDR changes and the like, and it took away the citizens' right to vote for it, which I think was a bad idea, but it did do that. But it doesn't mean that as commissioners we can't or we should ignore what our residents have said. And I was a little bit surprised because I did go through the list of emails that we've gotten in the last 48 hours or so at home, and I don't know how well you can see this list from over there, but on this side is the people that were for, and on this side the ones that were opposed to passing these ordinance, and I wrote all the names down so you all can see, but I went through all 33 that we got, and there were 30 that wanted to oppose these ordinance and 3 that was for. So I don't know where, I'm sure we missed up because not everybody sent all the mayor and commissioners the same thing. So I'm not disputing Vice Mayor's Vasquez numbers. I'm just saying when I did it, it was overwhelmingly in favor of opposing these changes. The residents have told us in 2 elections, they've told it, they're reaching out to us now. You've heard them tonight. They're telling the commission, this is what the residents and the citizens want. And, if we want to vote and we don't listen to these people, then let's vote for this and approve it. But if we want to listen to our residents, listen to the citizens and what they've had to say, overwhelmingly they have said, don't change height and density.
I look out here and I see a lot of magic in this room. I think that there are ways for us to figure out what is going to be best going forward. I think that what is going to be best is that we are going to need to have some public-private relationships for our growth. I mean, we don't have the money sitting here. The city certainly doesn't have the money. So what we need is somebody with imagination. And I think that we opened the meeting today with Jim Brainerd, who has imagination. But he makes it real. It comes to life. And I think that you wouldn't be here if you didn't really care. And I think that's extremely important. The one thing, though, that I hear a lot recently, and you probably have too, is about our parking. and about how much our parking is expensive and that people are trying to find the cheapest parking. Well, I'll tell you what, we do have on some days we have some real issues with cars. It's because they are trying to figure out where the cheapest parking is. And, am I going to park and have to pay $18 for the first 2 hours, not even knowing that I just was going in for a burger? There's a lot of issues. But once again, we're going to lean on those public-private relationships, especially for parking. And, so I'm mixed on a lot of this, and I think that a lot of us are. But, I would like to see what our development agreement looks like. I would like to do that. And I think that if we just kill it off tonight, even though we're going to have multiple chances of it, going forward, if we kill it all off tonight, we kill that look at what could be a great relationship with the developers. And we're not talking about bringing in money. We have the money here. We have the owners here. And so, I'm taking I'm taking a point that doesn't say that I am for or against, but I do want to see what we can do together moving forward. Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Vasquez.
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
No.
Commissioner Dickey.
No.
Mayor Doctor.
Aye. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next item, H7, which is the other half of this. So would you call the roll, or give me a motion, please?
I move to approve ordinance 2025-17 and schedule a second reading following the approval of ordinance 2025-16, amending the text to the City of Treasure Island's comprehensive plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We've already done our public comments. Is there any comments up here? Okay, if not, call roll.
Public comment.
Oh, you got to do the reading of the ordinance.
Real quick, so we just did the comp plan, correct?
Yes.
Now we're on LDRs? Because I thought I misheard it. I just want to make
Yes.
sure I'm not going crazy. Sorry.
You're correct.
I will read the 2025-17 ordinance, amending the LDRs, land development regulations, to allow for alternative temporary lodging units in line with the City, Treasure Island Comprehensive Plan and Countywide Plan.
All right, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Vasquez.
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
No.
Commissioner Dickey.
No.
Mayor Doctor.
Aye. Our last item for tonight before we go into the reports on the commissioners is Resolution 2025, adoption of the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-20, adopting 2026-2030 strategic plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I do have some cards, if people are still here, that specifically wanted to say something about the strategic plan, which was H8. And Maria Barba.
Marie Barba. This is about the Pirate Square, and of course, I'm going to object
On there
It's
anymore.
not on the
once
agenda.
again of the densities. It's too much of a land grab
I'm sorry, that was taken off the agenda for tonight.
for the Pirate Square.
Correct. Yes, it was asked to be removed.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, do you have anything else? Okay. Diana Crable?
Hi again, Diana Crable, District 2. I'm just a little disappointed that we had this strategic plan on an off-site rather than being here at City Hall and inviting the public to participate. 5 years ago when we had it in the old City Hall. You had people that were invited because of different positions that they held within the community, and you had it open to the community. I just think it's terrible that we did this off island and things, and I just wanted to let you know that I think in the future, when we have something as important as this, that we need to have that take place on island where everybody can participate. In addition to that, they had it on a Saturday morning where everybody, if they worked or not, could also attend. So I would just like maybe to take that in consideration for future meetings of great importance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will close the public comments. Any discussion up here? All right, so please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Vasquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Dickey?
Aye.
Mayor Doctor?
Aye. All right, and now we're going into commissioner reports. Commissioner Vasquez.
I just wanted to touch on the people who have reached out about the police, and we actually just got the contracts for Madeira not long ago and for St. Pete Beach, and to dispel yet another rumor that we could save up to $2 million by outsourcing our police. Our police budget, I believe, is $3.4 million, and we have Marine Patrol. We have at least 4 units on the ground on all shifts, at least. When we have special events and, holiday weekends and such like that, we scale up, we scale down, and we never have to pay additional for that. The budget is the budget. In St. Pete Beach, their new budget, I apologize, their new contract with the Sheriff's Department, they get 3 officers per shift and 1 floating sergeant that they share between that and Madeira Beach. Any extra, if they need beach drivers for any special events, anything to that effect, that is approximately $50,000 more when they need them. There's several things. If you need special events to scale up and however many officers you need, it's at scale pay. So their latest contract is $3.7 million. So it is significantly larger than ours. It is a year-to-year contract with the Sheriff's Department, and since 2012, it has gone up 146% on their budget. So I apologize, on their contracts. So to dispel, they do not have, and Madeira Beach has less officers. They have 2. Their latest contract is $1.9 million, but they get 2 officers per shift, not 4. They get 2. Again, no Marine Patrol, none of that. And they share a sergeant with St. Pete Beach, and they are paying $1.9 million is their new budget. So again, our budget is $3.4 million. We have beyond excellent service with our officers. We do not have to pay additional for additional officers on holidays and special events. So I just wanted to kind of nip once again the misnomer that we could save up to $2 million a year by going with the Sheriff's Department. Not true. Very much not true. Not Tammy words. You can go on St. Pete Beach, you can look at their budget. You can go on Madeira Beach, you can look at their budget. That's what the Sheriff's Department. Unlike outsourcing trash, there are multiple trash companies, multiple, to choose from. So if one raises a contract, and you don't do 1-year contracts when you do trash, but they raise it, you have 9, 10 more companies to choose from that are going to work hard to earn your business. You don't have that. Once you go to the Sheriff's Department, that's it. They've got you. year by year, contract by contract, which is why they've gone up 146% since 2012 in St. Pete Beach. So definitely wanted to address that for sure. And the 9/11 was addressed. The 9/11 Firewalk was addressed already. But let's please remember the 9/11 Memorial. Madera Beach does one as well. And I think we're going to kind of, because I sing at that one, then I'm going to come back and walk with our guys on 9/11. So please try to take part in some kind of a ceremony or recognition somewhere for 9/11. But other than that, I think that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark?
Sure. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but, and I actually don't think my residents would support outsourcing the police, but I just want to make one correction. The Madera Beach mayor sent me the contract, and you're correct about the 1.9 million, but that also, it's not apples to apples, so it includes crossing guards, code enforcement,
It includes
and a bunch of
part-time
other stuff.
crossing guards.
So I'm just saying.
2 part-time crossing guards.
I'm just saying.
I have the same contract.
Okay. So anyhow, the only thing I was going to talk about tonight is, and I brought it up to the city manager before, I continue to get the most emails about the fact that we still have all these yards that aren't mowed, and part of our neighborhood's starting to look really good, and then we have all these people that aren't taking care of their property. I mean, I don't understand any other place I've lived. Why can't we go cut these yards and charge the people? And if they don't pay us, we slap a lien on their house. I mean, it just looks terrible. And I mean, I get probably 2 emails a week about it.
If I could jump in quick, so this was just discussed. I don't know why historically the city did not do this, but it is.
And I'm not saying that he's not doing what I ask, Charlie.
They're cutting the grass every day.
No. I'm just saying, why can't we?
We can. Historically, the city never did it, but we're drafting it right now, and I've already met with staff once on it. So, if this was the first time it was brought up, historically, I don't know why the city did it.
So what do we have to like vote on it, or?
It's gotta be an ordinance, yeah.
Okay. Are we going to bring that forward?
I think it's ready by your next meeting or the one after.
Okay. Because I mean, people, I'm sorry that they're not in their homes, but you got to still take care of the grounds, Thank you. I'm done.
To touch on Commissioner Clark's point, there's a lot of newspapers being piled up, and they, with the torrential downpour that we had a couple weeks ago or a week ago or so, they've been piling up in the leaf grate in these drains. And on my walks at night, I've saw, and I emailed Gary regarding it, a lot of the grass clippings are stuck in the drains and they pile up over time, thus not creating proper drainage. So if you see a drain that's clogged, please email Public Works to get that taken care of. In my weekly meetings with our city manager, Charles Van Zandt, I will bring up the city planning situation that we discussed today. And if that's the will of the commission, I think we should go out for RFP. We shouldn't specifically target a particular person. I think we got to do proper research and planning and maybe find someone that best fits the description for Treasure Island. Like I said, I've been in that city and it is gorgeous. Definitely a lot of cornfields, but something that we don't have here. Although we can't have parking underground, Miami does have a tunnel in it. So obviously with enough money and P3s, anything could be accomplished, but obviously we got to have relationships first before we go down that route. That's all I have. Thank you.
I'm going to need Brett's help here to move to the next slide. Or do I right click? Right click. Okay, there you go. Okay, thanks. Click. A couple of my, about 3 to be exact, residents, as they passed my house while I was working out in the yard in the last several weeks, have talked to me about their most recent tax statement, and they said, wait a minute, I thought you told me that we weren't raising your taxes, and I thought I thought property values were going down, and I was expecting a lower tax trim notice when I got it. In fact, it went up. So I took a look at, at my bill, and I walked them through this, but I thought I'd quickly walk you through it as well. You can see the total tax bill, the total millage rate last year that we got as Treasure Island residents last year was 16.148. The proposed is 16.6. So it's up almost 3% or 46%. You can see Treasure Island here is flat, so we didn't raise our millage rate, but the big increase there came from the public schools, especially the local public schools. And most of you will remember last November, the county voted 68 to 32% to raise the school district millage rate by a half a point. So that's where you're seeing your increase. This is I want to say a typical bill. It may not be that typical. It's probably fairly typical of a tax bill with the millage rates that I just talked about in 2024 and 2025. But these are the actual dollars. So in the city of Treasure Island, on this particular bill, which is mine, quite frankly, our bill's going up, what is that, $84 or something there, from prior year. That's still, as you heard Diana Crable mention earlier, that's less than 23% of the total bill, but it did go up, and even though we didn't raise the millage rate. Why? It's because this assessed value came up. So again, because I was asked this, and I called the county to get some clarification on this, because I was kind of expecting, I knew about this 0.5% from the school board, but I thought property values were going to be going down, and in fact, property values went up. And I said, how can you raise property tax values in this situation? Everything I've seen shows that it's going down. And they said, really doesn't matter, because until this number here, market value equals your cap value, you're not going to see a decrease in your taxes. And I said, I understand that, but I still don't understand why this could go up 11%. Especially given what this area's been through. But anyway, there wasn't a logical explanation, but I share this with you again because several of the residents asked me, and I did call and talk to them to get some information. But you will see total, my tax bill, and I'm sure yours will too, it will run very similarly. It went up 6% year to year. So just in case you're wondering what happened there. I know Arthur's quite capable of defending himself, and I know he's come under some pressure lately. Specifically, the mayor and commissioners got an email earlier in the week from Andrew Vassy telling us all these bad things about Commissioner Cezanne. And again, I'll let him defend himself, but I just want you to, I felt compelled to talk about a couple of things in here that I had personal knowledge about that were untruthful. One, the first two items in this email, and one was about the fire side, the fire station location. Well, both of them are about the fire station location. I don't know why Mr. Vassy continues to insist that the Rebuild TI group was conspiring to put the public safety facility in the park. That was not anything we ever talked about in terms of, it just wasn't on our radar. It's not something we talked about. With the Rebuild TI group was put together to go after grants that might be available. It wasn't to talk about where we're going to place the public safety facility. So that was mentioned twice in this email, and I did want to clear that. Furthermore, Vassy attacked one of the resident volunteers on the committee, and you can attack me, which you do from time to time, and you can attack Commissioner Cezanne, which you've been doing a lot of lately. We're both public figures, and we signed up for that. It comes with the territory. But attacking the volunteers, people that took their time and spent months on trying to help this city get funding for rebuilding the city, I think was inappropriate. So I wanted to mention that while I had a chance. On the good news front, I'm wrapping up here, but on the good news front, one of the iconic signs we have out on Sunset Beach is this living on island time, and it survived Hurricanes Helene and Milton. This is what it looked like a couple of weeks ago, but some people got together and took that sign down and came up with this new sign. And specifically, I want to, and it's beautiful, by the way. It's really getting a lot of buzz out there. But specifically, I wanted to thank the artist, John Kummer, who did the artwork on this, and thank the Sunset Beach Community Association for sponsoring and paying for it, and thank also Richard Harris for finding the artist for us, taking the old sign down and installing the new one. So, it takes a village. You wouldn't think upgrading a sign would be such a challenge, but we got it done and it looks great. And people love coming out to Sunset Beach, the visitors, and having their picture taken in front of that. So thanks again for everybody who made that happen. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. The only thing that I have is that we are now in September. The American Legion has been closed now for almost 1 year. But there is going to be a grand opening at the end of this month. So all of you take a look and see. They're probably going to start just with a bar and then work their way up to the kitchen. But it'll be good to see something, for the veterans and for all of the residents to take part in. So with that, the meeting is adjourned.